something. But we're living programmed to test the best of all, and I'm calling it all. Double down on the system. Won't let you down, yes, this or what through this town. I'm cyber and cipher. Things sound like the best of them. Let's try like the rest of them. Keep me in your graveyard. Deep in the dead. To the shores of hell. Take me in the fire. Give me a photo. Nothing left for me. Zero to the dead. Gotta break it down, gotta break it down. Gotta break it down, gotta break it down. Keep me in the graveyard. Deep in the dead. Keep me on forever. To the shores of hell. Throw me in the fire. Give me a photo. Nothing left for me. Zero to the dead. sharpened with precision, flashing your favorite point of view. I know you're waiting in the distance, just like you always do, just like you always do. Already pulling me in, already under my skin, and I know exactly how this ends. I let you cut me open just to watch me bleed. Gave up who I am for who you wanted me to be. Don't know why I'm hoping for what I won't receive. Falling for the promise of the emptiness machine. The emptiness machine.
All right. Let's do this one more time. My name is Peter B. Parker. I was bitten by a radioactive spider. No. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's... Once more from the top with feeling. Hi, everyone. How's it fucking going? I mean, I know for a lot of my friends right now, yesterday kind of sucked for various reasons. So that's not great, but it's a new day. From my perspective as a West Coast late riser, I guess, I suppose based on time zones, today's not so new. But we press on anyway. Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ. The sleep gods need to be kinder to you. Fucking hell. That sucks majorly. And it needs to stop. And I will shake my fist at the sleep gods on your behalf. Oh, man. Okay. If I don't address it, maybe it'll stop. If I just don't say anything about it, maybe everything will be okay. So, it's the darndest thing. I'm not in the mood to waste too much time this afternoon. And we'll just have to find out. We'll just have to find out what happens. Later. We're gonna fuck around and find out is what we're gonna do. And maybe if I get to the start sooner and, you know, get a little ways in, then no takesies backsies. And it happens today regardless what happens. It could be a fucking disaster and I'd still do it. So, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so, yeah. Today, we are going to catch up. We're going to catch up. And I will talk afterwards about what that means for the future of this channel. I know I mentioned that a bit yesterday, but for the sake of, you know, officialness and that, I didn't post the VOD for that whole train wreck. For the sake of officialness and putting it in the archive, I will go over it again later tonight. And we are going to see where that takes us. I keep starting sentences and tuning out of myself before I finish them. I don't have ADHD. You have ADHD. So true. Yeah. This is a chat full of ADHD. Point being, I'm going to try and save all the, you know, sappy rambling for later. But I do intend to do that today to commemorate catching up. So that admittedly is the plan. But I'll try to save it for once we've actually gotten to the point, first and foremost. After that, I can do whatever I want. But we do have a job to do here tonight, and I intend to do it to the best of my ability. So, without too much, you know, dilly-dallying and what have you, I think I'm going to just dive right in. And we will hopefully actually get to start this time. No reason whatsoever. If I don't mention it, it doesn't exist, and therefore it won't mess with me. That's definitely how that works. Anyway, welcome one and all to the 62nd installment of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. As you may notice, that's the most recent chapter. What? I thought today was a normal stream. If I don't say anything, it will be. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Harper, but you can call me KK. My pronouns are they, it. If you are new in Twitch chat, please read the rules, be chill, and have a good time. What is going on is this. Your Words Destroyed My Planet by Unda is a 1 million word Homestuck fic that focuses on Dave Soulcat. It's an AU set in a future where Earth and Alternia have been consumed by a mysterious force known as the Void, and humans and trolls have escaped on spaceships for their survival. As of now, it is currently unfinished, and we'll talk about what that means for the streams later. But in this stream series, I do aim to read the entire fic out loud by myself. Because I'm a total goober, as I said before. I aim to read... Yeah, I just said that. Sorry, wrong line. Please take note of the tags on this fic. We're looking at them right now. And be aware that you may be in for the discussion of some sensitive topics. We've been through it lately. So, you know. Fun times all around. Fun times. If you would like to read back approximately what I just said, you can type !fic about in chat. If you'd like a link to the fic itself on AO3, you can use !fic link. That'll take you to chapter 1. But don't worry. All the other chapters are right next to it. !fic song is a brief explanation of a very special feature of these streams, which is the pre-recorded song sequences. This command sadly cannot tell you which song is currently happening, but that's okay because all the song titles are in my brain. I know them. But, you know, more importantly, what the command is an explanation of this sort of thing that I've had to do. And then !fic sorry is just a couple of, you know, little disclaimers / apologies, because I am one person who speaks one language and has one router and has none patience for video editing, and therefore if I went the pre-recorded route for this project, it would take so much fucking longer to produce. So I stand by the choices I've made. But, you know, this is basically just a recognition of, yeah, I know that this could be a lot more polished, but if it was a lot more polished, I would also have a lot less brain cells, on account of I don't have the patience for that shit. So, you cut some corners and then the project actually exists. In much the same way as sometimes in order to draw a picture, I have to just sketch it instead of going all perfectionist mode. Suddenly something exists instead of not existing. Because I lowered my standards. And finally, you can use !VODs, VODS VODs, to get a link to my YouTube archive where I'll be putting every VOD for this series as well as anything I may stream in the future. When I do finish a chapter, I start uploading the VOD right after I hit stop streaming, and once I do that, it does not take very long to go up at all. Ow! Sorry, I think I just scratched a zit or something. Ow. But yeah, VOD uploads don't even take an hour. It's never a long wait for those. So,
don't worry about a thing.
Alright. Let's do this for real. Let's do this for real. Guys, we made it. Come with me to Your Words Destroyed My Planet, chapter 62.
Oh my gosh, that's me! That's me! Look, I'm on TV!
You wheeze, pained and anguished, as you clutch both hands to your side. Your grub scar throbs angrily, and your elbow stings from your rude introduction to the floor. Thankfully, your psionics managed to stop you falling fully, but there's nothing they can do about you throwing your arm back to catch yourself and smacking your elbow into the ground. The quiet noise of your groan is drowned out by the thundering and graceless stomps of your Moirail's feet as he charges around the room, around the small ablution block, and back again.
Dave isn't here!
Karkat yells. You struggle upright, one hand still over your grub scar, and look to see that there's no Dave in the bed at all. He's not in the rest of the room either, and you're going to assume that Karkat's loud search of the ablution block turned up 0 Daves. Nothing escapes your notice, Detect Terrorist Holmes. Nothing escapes your elbows either, not even my grub scars. You tell him snidely and rub at your side.
Ha ha! Your burns are sick and your pain's exaggerated. We don't have time for this because our boyfriend is missing!
Karkat snaps, putting as much emphasis into the last words as possible.
They're not exaggerated. It's not my fault you're flailing those things around like you think you're in Mortal Kombat instead of sleeping like a normal person. Again, ow! You hiss.
Karkat's face shifts from panic to guilt, but because he's Karkat, he's able to do both at the same time, at the same intensity. When he speaks, his voice is apologetic.
Are you okay? I didn't mean to hit you.
You float to your feet with a wince and twist to look at your side. You probably won't even have a bruise, but getting hit in the grub scars feels like a hit right to the bone. It's like cracking your shin on something or hitting your funny bone. You'll be fine, but still, ouch. I'm fine. I will hold it over you for petty purposes, though. You warn him, and the regret evaporates from Karkat's face.
Dave is missing,
Karkat says again, ignoring your threat. He's not missing, you just don't know where he is, you say.
That's the same thing! Did you land on your head first after I elbowed you off the bed?
Karkat snaps and throws his arms in the air dramatically. You nearly say to Karkat that maybe Dave had the good sense to get out of the way of the elbow tornado in the bed, and that's why he's not here. Except, you don't think that's true, and joking about it would actually send Karkat into a spiral of guilt and anxiety. You get on your best friend and Moirail's nerves for fun, but that would actually distress him, so you don't say that. You do actually have a filter. You simply don't care to use it all that much and let it gather dust most of the time. He probably got up because he had a nightmare, or his sleep schedule is off, or maybe he's hungry, or wanted to see his family. He's not here, but it doesn't mean he's missing. You reason. We should go find him, see if we can get him to come back to bed. If he wants to. Karkat's words are tight. His whole body is tight with tension, so you go around the bed and press your hands to his face, thumbs running over his cheeks. You know that if your migraine hadn't happened, then the time door wouldn't have opened. Everything would have been lost. It was fate or some future bullshit that made everything happen just as it did. You know that if you had been there when Mindfang showed up, that you would have been under her control. Things would have been worse instead of better. You know all of this, and it helps with the dumb guilt that says that Dave was only that alone and vulnerable to attack because you had taken half of his team away. In the same line of thought, Karkat was on the planet when Dave was being dragged onto Mindfang's shuttle. He was there when she was in orbit. If he had noticed, if he had gone looking for Dave right away, then maybe things would have been different. Even leaving aside the premonitions and time paradoxes, you don't know if they'd have been better. Karkat could have ended up under her control as well. He was with Gamzee. Maybe both of them would have ended up on Mindfang's ship as balancers for the Doctor's experiments. But still, Karkat could have done something sooner, and he didn't. That's a thing that's true, even when you can't know if it would have been better or worse for him to have done something. There's so many other things that both of you could have done, and the worry that you didn't do it right is the same thing that makes you grind video games until you get a perfect score. It's the same thing that makes Karkat look up walkthroughs to get the best ending in his games. In reality, getting Dave here and alive has to be the 1,000,000-to-1 secret ending. No one thought it was possible. But
things aren't perfect right now, so that instinct tells you both that you did something wrong. It's not a rational guilt, but it's powerful. You're doing your best to ignore it, but clearly Karkat can't. Now Dave is missing, and Karkat needs to do something about it. Let me get a shirt on and we'll go looking for him, you say, wisely choosing to not voice any of your earlier thoughts. Better to let Karkat deal with this how he wants to. Don't, Karkat says, one hand holding onto your wrist. What? KK, it's not going to take 2 seconds to put on a shirt and go, you insist. Yeah, but... Karkat glances away guiltily and then back to you, to your torso. I want him to come back with us. Anything that helps with that is good. Your jaw drops and words fail you for a moment. KK, are you exploiting me being shirtless to try to entice Dave back here? It's a tactical decision, come on, Karkat says, and drags you from the room without wasting another second. I feel flattered and objectified, you say, as Karkat looks up and down the hallway. You ignore Karkat muttering that it would be both and follow him down the corridor. The whole area loops around like a left square bracket that has dead-end corridors poking off of it at intervals, only the main bracket-shaped hallway goes back to the central quarantine area. The two of you walk past rooms. Some are shut with people in them, and some are open and empty. Dave isn't in any of the open rooms, nor the communal showering or ablution block areas. He's not hidden himself in any storage rooms either. You're not breaking into people's chosen respite blocks, though he could well be in those. The pair of you walk out into the communal area as your search of the corridor and rooms off of it comes to a close. You find Dave, but it's not the Dave Strider that you were looking for. Is it morning? It doesn't look like it is on this, unless your time is different, Dave says, leaning up on one elbow to look at the tablet that you gave him as a replacement for his phone. It's stupid fucking early, you answer him in English. Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't sleep. I've been awake the whole time. Dave nods. I'm sorry to hear that, Karkat tells him. How come? Just insomnia, or... You trail off. Or dealing with how I expected to be dead, how everyone I've ever cared about but you is dead and my planet is gone, how I threw my sleep schedule out by getting high and drunk before you showed up, and my plan had been to go back to that so I was blitzed before the world ended. Yeah, kinda messing with my sleep cycle, Dave says, with cheer, but not a nice or cheerful look on his face. Sorry, that was stupid of me to ask. You apologize. Dave's shoulders slump and he sighs. No, it wasn't. Didn't mean to go off on you. I think that's totally fair. If there's anything we can do to help, just let us know. You're not the only one either. Our Dave is missing. He went to bed with us, but it seems like he couldn't stay asleep either, Karkat offers. Have you checked around there? I've been up all night, and the only person I've seen is the cat girl who got up and went to the kitchen and came back with a stupidly big glass of milk. That's it, Dave says, gesturing the way that you came. We've checked everywhere back there. We checked every room that's empty, at least. He might be with his dad or someone, you explain. He didn't come past me, Dave says again. Well, okay, I guess we should go back to bed then, Karkat mumbles. No, we're checking everywhere, you tell him, catching Karkat as he turns to go back. What, you think I'm lying? Dave asks with a hint of annoyance. Nope, you sigh and turn Karkat back around to face Dave. We'll go back, then he'll go, what if he missed him? Or what if he fell asleep for just a moment and didn't know, and Dave went by then? Or what if Dave... What's the word? You swear you know this. It's short. A syllable or two. You pull a face and start saying, what if Dave... Again, but the word doesn't come. Forgot the word? What does it mean? Or what is it in Alternian? Karkat asks. It's like... hidden. All like... You adopt a vaguely sneaky pose and an arm stance like you're going to karate chop someone. Ninja? Dave suggests, and you look around at him immediately. It's almost...
Ninja'd. It's a verb. Ninja'd isn't a word, Karkat protests. It is. You're going to wonder if our Dave ninja'd past this Dave when he was distracted on his tablet, so we should go look for him. You nod. Ninja'd is not a verb. I will die on this hill, Karkat insists. Rip, you say seriously. F's in chat, Dave nods. Karkat's face twitches in fury, and he launches into a Karkat Vantrum in Spanish at Dave, which isn't helped as Dave bursts into hysterics at it and asks Karkat something that makes Karkat hiss and drag you off. You're no polyglot, but you're going to take a wild guess that it was something like asking Karkat if he kisses his Lucis with a mouth as filthy as that. You and I are doing a public service by dating Dave. We're ensuring that his wretched DNA isn't passed on any further. Dirk and Hal have both had enough surgery to take themselves out of that race. Kanaya has fallen on the sword of dating Rose. Now it's only Roxy that's a danger to the gene pool. Karkat snarls under his breath as he drags you away. Telling Cankry that you're taking up eugenics, you say slowly as you fake type on your palm husk. Karkat is a very mature adult, a former HR professional, trusted with diplomatic relations with a new species. You wouldn't know this from how he bites you spitefully on the shoulder like a furious wiggler, but he is so very mature and sensible. Let's try the gym. Dave went there a few times when he needed to let off steam, so maybe he did the same thing again. You suggest, shoving Karkat's bitey face away from your shoulder. Or there's that yoga thing that he does. Karkat agrees, smacking your hand away from his face. I'd mock you for thirsting after Dave doing yoga in his sleepwear, but I've seen that more than once, and I can't blame you for that. You concede. Karkat sighs in a long-suffering way and walks through the hallways of the quarantine area to find the gym. It's thankfully all pretty well signposted, and you've both been here before. You've been dragged here before 2 separate missions, and you weren't fond of being made to work out either time. Your hopes that Dave might be here fall when you see that the lights in the gym are off. Strangely, you feel like you can see something in there. Something dark, but not the same kind of darkness as the room around it. You frown and evidently get close enough to the gym door that the motion-sensitive lights flick on. The shape you had seen was Vriska, lurking in the dark and looking at you. Notably, she sat right at Dave's side. Oh God, he's not breathing, Karkat whispers in terror. What? You ask incredulously. You didn't hear Dave die, and he's sitting upright unsupported, a thing dead people don't really do. Dave is sitting upright, legs crossed, and hands resting on his knees. His eyes are shut, and he's ever so still. He's not completely still, and he is breathing. Obviously he is. His lean stomach is softer now with the slight forward lean of his sitting posture, and you can see the smallest and slowest breath gently expand there as he breathes in. Good luck getting him to respond, Vriska tells you. What are you doing here with him anyway? You ask her suspiciously, walking closer to her and Dave. Vriska huffs like she's offended or annoyed, but she doesn't answer your question. Dave? Dave, are you okay? Karkat calls out to him, crouching down to Dave's level as he gets closer so that he doesn't spook him. A small frown creases the skin between Dave's pale eyebrows, and a deeper breath swells in his ribcage before his eyes flutter open. You can perfectly picture the Dave mental operating system loading symbol over his head before he finally responds. Karkat? Dave asks. Yeah, Dave, it's me. Why were you here in the dark with Vriska? Karkat asks, ever so gently. Dave shakes his head and seems to wake up a little more. I was meditating, I think. He thinks? As in, it started as meditating, and at some point he somehow managed to sleep sitting up, and he's not sure when? And why with Vriska? You start, but Vriska interrupts you, like she always did, because whatever she has to say is always the most important thing, isn't it? Look, Solix, I entirely understand why you don't like me.
It's not like we were really friends before, and obviously what me and Arania did to you and Matuna was unforgivable. But believe me that I suffered and paid for that. I got helmed too. I get why you don't trust me, but I'm not doing any of that now, Vriska says over you. What, you're not doing anything evil now? You ask. No, I'm not. I'm sure that what I did torments you, and it's hard to look beyond that, she goes on. It doesn't, really, you say, talking over her this time. Vriska stares disbelievingly at you, and so you explain as matter-of-factly as you can. Obviously, you and Arania trying to helm me and Matuna isn't ever going away. That scar isn't ever going, and it will never be okay. But, honestly, I don't think about you. I thought about you when I could see through Matuna's eyes when he was dying. I think about you sometimes when people would remind me of you dragging me away with your mind control. But mostly, no, I didn't think about you. You're not that important. Matuna seems to think you're square, and even if neither of us are ever forgiving you, I'm not going to go out of my way to think about you or do anything about you. You didn't say it that way just because Vriska has always hated being insignificant or a nobody. You didn't care enough to try to twist the knife, but you're still petty enough to get some satisfaction from the reaction on her face. Whatever, Vriska mumbles to herself. How long have you been in here? The lights were off when we got here. Also, how can you be that still that the motion lights didn't notice you? Karkat asks, smoothly glossing over all of that. Skills, Dave says simply with a little shrug. Vriska laughs flatly, but is ignored by everyone else. Everyone but you. You're watching her. Seriously? Karkat asks. Dave nods and grimaces a little as he shifts. So serious my ass has gone to sleep. And with that, I'm going, Vriska says and floats to her feet. You hold a finger up to pause her and look at her and then Dave. He was in here with the lights off. They went off after he started meditating, you state. We established that, yeah? Where are you going with this? Karkat asks you. Vriska isn't quite looking at you. Yeah, you're onto something. You stayed here with him, so he wouldn't come out of that meditation or whatever and be alone in the dark, you say, and watch as one of Vriska's hands grips the hem of her shirt. You remember her and Dave holding onto each other's hands so tightly after they came back. Thanks, Dave says, so softly it's almost a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about, Vriska denies and glares at you, as if you've crossed some line by seeing what she's really up to. Dave was touchy about the dark. When he went to sleep with you and Karkat, he was touching you both, and the room wasn't completely dark, with your eyes and the occasional power light about. The gym was really dark, though. If he'd opened his eyes in here and been disoriented, you bet he'd have panicked because he thought it was the void. You can see what's going on here. Sorry that we interrupted you. I woke up from a dream, Karkat starts. He woke up by elbowing me so hard in the grub scar that he knocked me out of bed, you interrupt. Karkat keeps going like he hadn't said anything. And you weren't there and we were worried. You don't have to come back with us or anything, but we wanted to know you were okay. It was a really freaky dream, actually. It was me and Aradia. Dave looks up at you, his face a perfect picture of mischief. Wow, Karkat, you try to say, but Karkat is ignoring you to hardcore levels. And Vriska was there as well, Karkat goes on, and Vriska's face flashes an expression of alarm. Wow, Dave says. Yeah, wow. Karkat's just out here having freaky dreams of him and my ex and Vriska all together? I can't believe this. You grin. So, was it like a Karkat sandwich? Because that'd be something. Or was it more Aradia and Dave giggles? No! Going now! Vriska shrieks and vanishes, leaving you and Dave laughing like idiots and Karkat glaring daggers at you both. Karkat turns to Dave with a patient expression on his face over the rolling boil of his irritation. I understand, he says slowly, that you're physically injured right now, and it's very reasonable that you're uneasy about touch or the threat of pain. Obviously, you know I'd never really hurt you, and we have sensible boundaries, but it can be hard to hold on to that now. With that being said, consider this an IOU for when you're better.
Dave opens his mouth to say something in response, just as Karkat's hand snaps out and jabs you in the back of the leg, making you yelp as your whole leg goes tingly and numb so that you have to psionically catch yourself or else hit the floor. Dave moves onto his hands and knees to look down at you. You manage to hiss that you're fine as you desperately try to rub feeling back into your legs. His gaze shifts from you to the pleasant expression that Karkat is wearing as he watches you both. Well, after everything, I may never truly be better again, Dave tells him, a little bit hopefully.
But you're improving every moment, Dave. I'm sure you'll be fine again before you know it.
Karkat threatens him sweetly. Oh no, Dave squeaks, in a tone stranded between fear and interest and a facial expression that conveys dismay at apparently being at least some amount of into Karkat's threats. There's a lot going on there.
Anyway, I had a balancer dream. I was in Aradia's museum, and my ice cream guys were there again. They were upset at Dave's ice cream flavor being discontinued and a new one being put in its place. My dream metaphors continue to be as unsubtle as a baseball bat to the face, I know. There was this party that we could hear, so Aradia led me there because that woman has no fear in her.
Karkat informs you both. It's true. Not only is Aradia not the type to run from things if she was in a scary movie, she'd go over to them and have a look.
There was this big area. It had this impossibly dark middle, but around it was all kinds of places. Bits of bars and rooms, like Tortuga. All of it was swirling around the middle of this thing, and there were people in it. Ghosts, dead balancers, and even Matuna and Vriska. I think it was a bunch of the ghosts that came through the door. They were all partying and singing this obscene sailor song as everything spun around. The room was so big and dark, except for this light at the top that was moving as everything spun. Karkat says, moving his finger around in a circle as he points upwards. I'm on the record as not caring and being retired, but if you're looking at a big, dark thing with stuff swirling around it and a light coming out of it that does this... Dave mimics Karkat's gesture with a finger, though his hand is trembling. Then that sounds like you're dreaming about a pulsar. Karkat's face scrunches a little, almost as if he bit into a lemon and is trying not to react. I definitely remember the astro-science classes we took in school, but you should explain it for Solix. Karkat tries. A pulsar is a kind of neutron star that shoots out twin beams of light and radiation from it. Why would you think that I wouldn't know that? How did you forget basic science, huh? You shoot back. I never thought I'd need it then! Karkat defends himself hotly. And here you are, you retort. Still, a neutron star? Karkat says slowly. A kind of neutron star, yeah, you confirm. Dave rolls onto his feet and, still crouched, touches you under the chin so he can turn your head to face him. Best student, good teacher, Dave murmurs and kisses your forehead quickly before standing up. Figure your own mysteries out. I don't want to know, Dave says. Want to go back to bed? Karkat made me not wear a shirt so he could lure you back more easily, you say, without any remorse in ratting Karkat out. You should tell HR about that, Dave nods. Karkat grumbles in irritation, but gets to his feet. He herds you both back towards your room. The two Daves talk for a moment in Spanish as you pass, and Karkat translates afterwards to tell you that the older Dave had said that he hadn't seen your Dave go by earlier. Apparently your Dave's response was just skill issue, and then he walked off. He's such an asshole, and you adore that about him. Dave is antsy when you get him back into bed. He clearly needs the rest, but it's not quite coming to him. You drift into a light sleep and open your eyes hours later to see Dave and Karkat huddled near each other under the covers, trying to block the light from disturbing your sleep. "Obviously you need a sash, but..." Karkat breathes as he scrolls. Dave makes a quiet and non-committal noise, making Karkat nod. The movement shifts the blankets a little as one of his horns is under them. You sigh and shut your eyes again, but you keep listening. "No, I know. These are too tasteful, but it's the idea that I'm getting at," Karkat whispers, and Dave laughs breathily, trying not to wake you. "Can make it worse. Gotta know fashion rules to break 'em," he suggests softly. "She'd hate that, but she'd do it for you. Oh, maybe the triplets could put flashing lights in the letters so it can strobe out retired as tackily as possible," Karkat suggests. You hear an odd gasp and then the soft sound of a kiss, maybe to Karkat's cheek. "Holy shit, I love you," Dave whispers. You smile against your pillow. The other great thing about there being 3 of you in this relationship is that the 2 of them can be sweet with each other and you can enjoy it without having to properly wake up. You don't have to worry about them. They have each other. When you wake up again, you're on your own. You feel obscenely well rested, but you're going to keep that to yourself because Karkat has never appreciated hearing about how well other people have slept, given his recurring insomnia. Then again, he worries when you don't sleep too, so who knows? You wander to the kitchen, eyeing groups of people as you pass. Karkat is talking to Hal and Equius. You catch something about work adjustments for his arm. Jade is brushing Beck's fur out, and June is quickly grabbing it with each swipe as Beck tries to eat it. Earth Dave is with the Strider girls, but you can't see your Dave around anywhere. He's not in the kitchen, but there is food and coffee there, so you're happy with that at least. Jake and Dirk are in the kitchen, so you figure that you'll hit them up for information. "Have you seen Dave?" You direct your question at the pair of them.
"I could confidently identify him in a lineup, yes," Dirk says, deadpan.
Some of his stuff was being delivered. I think he was getting a new palm husk since his old one is..." Jake falters for a second. "Evidence. It's evidence from Mindfang's attack." You grimace at the idea of that, but the screen on his was entirely destroyed, so it makes sense that he'd get a new one for now, even without it being evidence.
"I think he was on a call with one of the sailors, telling them what to grab and where everything is. I'm not sure how long we're stuck in here for quarantine reasons, but anything that makes him more comfortable is good. I know Dad ordered some new clothes for our great-grandpa, too."
Dirk adds, helpfully this time. Shit, you didn't think about how Earth Dave probably didn't have a lot of things on him when you grabbed him through time and space. You didn't think about him getting something to sleep in, or something new to wear the next day. All you were thinking about is your Dave, which makes sense after everything he just went through, but it's not as if Earth Dave is having a fun and stress-free time right now either. I didn't think about that. I should have. I don't think he slept last night either. You hiss in frustration. I think we all have a lot on our minds right now. Coffee? Jake offers, picking up a mug and reaching for the full coffee pot. Oh yeah, please, you're a saint. You groan with both relief and anticipation.
"He is,"
Dirk agrees, slightly smugly, and sips at his own coffee. You shameless flirt, you're just saying that to get more coffee, Jake tuts.
"And because it's true,"
Dirk insists. Well, I think you're great for giving me coffee, but I'm not willing to sleep with you for it. Dirk can pick up my tab for that part. I'll just have the coffee, you say.
"A sacrifice that I'm willing to make,"
Dirk says, ever so seriously. Jake snickers in amusement and hands you the glorious mug of steaming coffee. So, you know what your Dave is up to right now, even if you don't know his exact location. Perhaps you could concentrate on the other one for a while. Dirk shows you his dad's prepared waffle mix and the iron, and then before too long you're leaving the kitchen with a toasty and slightly cinnamon-flavored waffle and a generous mug of coffee. It's your second mug, but you know that Dirk is oh so willing to cover the fee for that. Dave, the older one, catches your eye as you leave. He looks around Roxy's shoulder to make eye contact with you. It's intense enough that it makes you slow down. If you need rescuing from them, blink twice. You tell him in English. You're assuming we don't speak English, Rose observes and gives you a sly look. She says this in Alternian, so she may not speak English and she's just trying to psych you out, but it's so hard to tell with her. I am, you agree, refusing to give anything away. Dave cuts that battle of wills short by saying something quickly to the two women in Spanish and then throwing his arm around you to lead you away. I need to talk to you, he says, back to English again. Okay, as long as I keep my food. You agree, holding on to your breakfast tightly. If this was your Dave, you get the feeling that he'd try to steal a bite of your food just to annoy you. This Dave is evidently more mature, or perhaps doesn't know you well enough to risk stealing your food right out of your hands. That man can cook, huh? Dave says, and you nod in agreement at Mr. Egbert's unbeatable cooking skill. So, what do you want to talk about? If it's Rose making you feel unsettled, then don't worry, she does that to everyone. You advise him. Nah, she's got the same powerful vibes as my mom, but this time I'm the elder in the family and not the other way around. She's cool. And Roxy reminds me a little of my wife. She's just as funny, at least, but maybe I'm seeing the people that I want to see in them. That's depressing as shit, but not what I wanted you for. Come this way. There's no one here, Dave says, pulling you towards an empty corridor. You'd make a joke about a strange older man trying to take you to a secondary location and how stranger danger works, but you did steal him from his planet, so you think you'll lose that particular point. Dave lets you go when he's convinced that you're far away enough from everyone, so you lean against the wall and eat a little more of your breakfast as you wait for him to get to whatever it is that he wants to talk about. Okay, so I trusted you when you had me get all of your keys for the door. You did prove that you were honest by helping me and my family, but I trusted you a lot, so I need you to trust me. I need you to answer some questions for me or tell me things without worrying about why and trust that I know what I'm doing. I need you to help me talk to some ghosts too, since this thing doesn't hear them, Dave says with a gesture to your translator program. You frown at this and finish chewing your bite of waffle. Sure, but why can't you tell me why you want to know? Because I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. I know from experience that people aren't always ready to hear something when it's supernatural or personal. Even if the person has some sense of this stuff themselves, they can be unwilling to hear it. I know that's what's going to happen here. I can tell from experience, Dave says. There's a very stubborn and petty part of you that wants to deny this and prove him wrong. It's the same part that makes you compete against people in video games you don't know, just to prove that you can beat anyone at anything. It's the same part that has eaten food way too spicy for you, just to prove that you can take it. You try. You try to a heroic level to not do that right now. I want to say that I wouldn't be like that. You begin. Oh yeah, you're just built different. Wait, that's probably not a saying here anymore. Damn. Dave grumbles. No, You pause and try to think very hard about that. It is a thing we say, but I think the Striders say it most, and I can't remember if we said it before they got here, but other people say it now. Did those assholes infect us with vintage memes and slang? Dave wipes away a fake tear of pride, and you take some comfort in the idea that Hal and Dave had no choice but to be the asshats that they are. Clearly, powerful familial traditions were guiding them. Anyway, we Gucci? Dave checks. I hate that I understand you, but yes, go on with whatever it is, and I'll help, you say, and shove the last of your breakfast in your face before wiping the crumbs off on your clothes. Am I right in thinking that Dave has always been unwilling to get medical stuff done, or is that new? He asks. Kind of both. His parents had this lab, and he was their test subject. I told you that before. Because of that, he's always been touchy with medical stuff. He trusts Equius, the doctor guy with the long hair, and he'll let him work on him because he's proved that he's good with Dave's stuff. He's the guy that gave Dave his new eyes. Dave can treat people's injuries fine. He did tattoo care for me and showed me basic first aid. But on the other hand, I've seen Dave panic when someone tried to treat him and he kicked them in the face and broke their nose. So, he's not normally this bad, but Since he was just back in his mother's lab, it's pretty obvious why it's worse. You explain.
Okay, and have you been able to touch him much, and what was that like? Put those eyebrows back down, Solix.
Dave sighs at you, but you are remorseless, and your eyebrows remain disobedient. Yeah, I have. It's fine, I just have to be careful about not making him jump and pay attention if he wants me to stop. Not that I don't do that normally, but you get what I mean. You tell him. Dave nods and waves your comment away. He gets that you're not going around getting handsy with people when they don't want you to. Dave hesitates and then asks his next question.
How does he, Dave begins. How does he feel?
You raise an eyebrow at him again. You'd only just put them back down!
Not like that. I mean, does anything feel unusual or wrong? Like he's too cold or...
Dave tries to say, but your eyebrow is staying up. Realization hits, and your other eyebrow raises to join the first in genuine surprise. Oh, do you mean supernaturally and voidy? Dave told me before that some people get that stuff differently. Sound, sight, or touch kind of thing. I don't pick that stuff up touch-wise, but sometimes I feel things like that as if they're near me physically. On the first planet I went to, I could feel the void looming right above us. That's not exactly touch-based, but it's close, right?
Yeah, sure. Does anything like that feel off about him? You might be getting it through touch and not realizing it, or does he feel off temperature-wise or anything like that?
Dave questions you. It's a weird question, but you did promise to go with this, didn't you? He put a lot of faith in you, so you can at least do the same in return. He can be cold, or like... You try to search for the word, but give up and say it in Alternian, and point at his translator so he gets it, and then you go back to English. Clammy, but that's if he's panicked and all his blood goes to his chest so he gets cold. Or how he was last night when he was meditating in the gym and he was cold because he was out of bed. Again, he's not as okay with being touched as he usually is, but he doesn't feel weird to me. Dave frowns a little, and you feel like you haven't answered what he wanted, so he rewords his question.
What about when there isn't an explanation? Does he feel off at all? It doesn't matter how minor it is or how much you might explain it away as something else. I need to know, so really think about it. You try to think about it. Most of the time when you've been able to touch Dave, you've mostly been thinking about how grateful you are that you're able to do it at all. You so nearly lost him, and it's a miracle that he came back. You had every faith in him. You were sure that he would. But even you know how huge the odds were against him. That gratitude and wonder has been on your mind more than observing what his skin feels like. There's nothing that I can think of. I'm so happy that he's back that being able to be near him is amazing, and I'm probably not paying all that much attention to the kinds of things you're asking. I can try to pay attention if you want, but I'm not sure why you're asking, though. Is there something off because of the door, or is something wrong? You say, with seeds of worry starting to take root in your chest. Don't worry about it yet. I'm figuring out what's going on is all. If you can pay attention, then that'd be great.
Dave says, shooting for reassuring, but not really getting there. He moves on with his next question before you can say anything more.
Can Dave normally touch ghosts? He was pulling that one with the long hair around when we first got here. I've had physical contact with spirits before, but it's only when things are really intense, or else it's really brief. When Mom would touch me, I'd sense it, but not feel it. We weren't really touching. He explains. That's not normal, no. Our ghosts can kind of touch us. We can make a connection. My ancestor, Psionic, he misses coffee sometimes, so sometimes I'll touch him and drink it so I can give the sensation to him. There's a connection, and I can feel that I am touching him, or the other ghosts, but it's not the same as this, you say, and push his shoulder gently with your fingers. So, you could all do that before, but none of you can drag a ghost around like he did.
Dave checks. You frown as you think about it. You think that if Dave could have swung a fist at Bro and made it connect before, then he would have, or he'd have pulled him away from people. He's never done that before, or you haven't seen it if he has. No, he couldn't do it before, and I don't think I can make that stronger kind of contact with Matuna and Sai now either. That's weird, actually. You say. Yeah. Yeah, it is, Dave says emphatically. Weird void shit, I guess? I should tell the others about it later. If things are getting weird, then we should pay attention to that. Maybe it's because he was so close to the void, or because his ghost is gone now or something. Who knows? You say. Dave seems weary, in a way. He's not slept, though, so it makes sense. Besides, he's been through a hell of a lot in the past few days. Getting to that island where you met him, setting himself up there and fully expecting to die. Then you dragged him away from all of that, only to pull him into a funeral for a guy who isn't dead, in a future where all of the family that he knows are dead, and shutting him up in quarantine where only a few people speak his language. No wonder he's tired. You would be too. You should try to be more helpful. You're his only friend here, after all. Come on, what else do you want to know? I'll answer whatever you want. I'd say there's no stupid questions, but I've worked with the public too much to say that. I'll still give you answers, though. You offer, and Dave smiles, a little weakly, but it's there.
Who was the girl ghost that he was holding hands with when he got here? I know I've heard her name before, but I've heard so many names and I've lost it. He admits.
That's fair. We only have to learn your name, and we already know that one. You have to learn everyone else's. I'd forget that, too. The girl that Dave was with was... That's Vriska. Give me that for a second, you say, and take his palm husk from him. Vriska had a sister, I guess. Her ancestor has mind control powers, real nasty, and both Vriska and her sister did, too. A lot of us don't meet our ancestors or even know who they are. Their ancestor was Mindfang. She's really old, and it turns out that she was in a relationship with Dave's mom for the whole time, even when Bro was around. Not that he knew.
Brutal. I'd feel worse for him if it wasn't for all the shit he did.
Dave comments without a lot of empathy. Yeah, you don't feel bad for Bro much either. Right? Anyway, Vriska and her sister lived on this ship, and often people didn't like them because of the whole mind control thing, and because they sucked as people. You go on. If Dave wanted nuance and an unbiased opinion about the circuits, then he should have asked someone else. They decided, or were convinced into doing something to impress her, to get onto her ship and be with her instead. I know I told you some stuff about how this works, but here, you say, and hand his palm husk back, with an English article about helmsmen open on the screen. They took me and Matuna so they could do that to us. On the same ship where our ancestor died in that helm. They only got Matuna. Someone helped and I managed to escape. They went over there and Matuna died a few months back. Vriska and her sister both died recently too. So I'll answer questions about Vriska or about the helm for you, but it's kind of shitty, and if you want to ask Matuna or Psionic anything about what happened to them over there, then there's some stuff that I won't ask them for you. I'll try to tell you myself if I can, but I'm not going to let them get hurt for this. I trust you, but that's my family, and they've been through enough, you say seriously.
Give me just a second. He's called them family.
Okay, I'm good.
Their family!
Dave swears a few times under his breath as he reads the article and looks over at you a few times. He eventually catches the battery tattooed on your finger, and you have to reassure him that you chose that as a fuck this gesture. He seems to get the idea, even if he's never going to really get it. Honestly, humans and non-gold trolls can't ever really understand the horror of the helm. Other psionics can probably get the idea a little better if they try to understand it. Actually, the only human who you know that would really get the horror of being born for the kind of body horror that is the helm would be your Dave. His situation isn't exactly the same, but the loss of freedom, the physical pain, and the pressure that it's required for everyone else to survive is pretty close. You've never been in a helm, but you very nearly were. The ships in the fleet run on nuclear energy now, but people never forget that if the worst came to the worst, you could be a fuel source. Helming is illegal, but laws can change, and the risk of it happening again is never zero.
Jesus, that's awful. Why is Dave so okay with her then, when she did that to you?
Dave asks in horror. It's whatever. Vriska tried to help Matuna when he was alive, and he's mostly alright with her now, so I'm going with that. Plus, her ancestor and Dave's mother killed her by helming her too, so it's not like things worked out great for her. Anyway, holding on to a grudge doesn't do me any good. She always wanted to be important, and not giving her any space in my head is good for me and pisses her off. Besides, she helped Dave out when he was a prisoner on that ship. I don't even need to ask to know he's not okay with how she tried to helm me, but I'm sure he's grateful that he wasn't alone over there. Trauma can make you do and feel weird shit. I'm not mad about it. It's fine. You shrug.
Wow, you're a better man than me. I don't think I could ever let that go.
Dave says, with a low whistle to show how impressed he is. You snort and roll your eyes. I'm not really a man at all, so that's a really low bar. Was that what you wanted to know about Vriska, or what?
I did want to ask if we could talk to her, but if you're not okay with... He starts.
I really don't give a fuck. You insist.
Then could we talk to her?
He asks, in a voice that's both hopeful and guilty. Sure. She's not my ghost, so I can't make her come here. If you want to go looking for her, then we can do that. You agree.
Great, let's go. Have you had any more dreams and been to any more times since I got here?
He continues with his questions as you walk along in search of Vriska. No, but I didn't get them every night anyway. Karkat and Aradia were dreaming together last night, though. The others all have this shared thing. Like how they saw us on that volcanic island. They were all dreaming together and got into my dream. Fuck, this whole thing is such bullshit. You say, despairingly.
Just the two of them? No Dave or Clown Guy?
He asked quickly. Dave was awake, or nearly awake, and meditating in the gym. You gotta be asleep to dream. I guess Gamzee wasn't asleep, or wasn't in the dreaming part asleep then. They normally have to try to all sleep at the same time to make that happen. You explain. He asks you about Karkat's dream, and you fill him in as much as you can remember. One of the awful things about being a balancer, not the worst, but it's up there, is having to actually pay attention to other people talking about their dreams. Normally other people's dreams are the dullest thing to listen to unless they're short and to the point. Before all of this, if Karkat had told you that you'd shown up in his dream and stole his TV, then you'd have found that mildly amusing and moved on. But when people go on and on about their dreams, you just tune out. But now you have to listen, because it might be spooky shit that's relevant. Worse still, you now have to explain Karkat's dreams to someone else.
His ice cream flavors represent people, and Dave's has been replaced with someone else?
Dave asks intensely. Something else. You correct his English and revel in being good enough to do that. Dave's flavor changed when Dave ate it before because of how he was doing in therapy, and Karkat's tastes different to him because of how he thinks of himself. It's just about Dave going through it all at the moment.
But his flavor has been replaced,
Dave says again. Dramatic Karkat dream logic, take it up with him. You shrug. You'd feel a little bit bad for calling Karkat's think sponge processing this dramatic if it wasn't for how Karkat himself was so annoyed at his own mental metaphors. They are a little bit obvious and on the sniff node, but it's his subconscious ruminating over it. He's not trying to write poetry here. You see Vriska before you can get into the dilemma of whether to take back what you said and defend Karkat or shit-talk him a little affectionately instead. You're not pleased to see her, but you're happy that you found her for Dave. You call her name, distracting her from looking out of the window at space. This was where you hid yourself when you first got into quarantine. This was where you first saw space for real. What do you want? Vriska asks, pleasant as ever. Dave says something in Spanish, and the translator spits it out in Alternian.
I had some questions for you.
That thing won't understand me. It's a machine. Vriska says, more to you than to Dave. That's why I'm here, I guess. I'll tell him what you say and the translator can hear me, you say, figuring it out. Exactly, Dave says to you in English. You wave your hand towards Vriska to indicate to Dave that his dubious choice of floor is open. You can't control what Vriska does or doesn't know, what she'll say, or how much she'll cooperate. You promise to help, and repeating whatever Vriska says is about as helpful as you can be here.
Karkat translated a lot of what he heard when we got here, but it was rushed. You were with my great-grandson on the other ship when it was destroyed, right?
He asks through the translator. Yeah, I was holding his hand when it was destroyed. We didn't want to get separated and all of that, Vriska says, and you repeat it word for word.
That's why he grabbed your hand when you came near him on this side, too,
Dave concludes, and Vriska nods. I wouldn't want to be alone in the void either, you admit, and shudder at the thought.
When did he grab your hand on the other ship?
Dave asks. Vriska seems surprised at that question and frowns in thought for a moment to think. Eventually, she answers, during that song of his, the other ghosts were going nuts, so I grabbed him. We held on to each other after that. That makes sense to you. You've not seen a motif in action up close, but you get how powerful Dave's was. No wonder Vriska didn't want to get swept up in it. Sticking right by Dave's side was probably the safest choice there was. If things were getting unreal enough that she was able to touch him, then holding on tight to him was smart.
And that song of his ripped the ship apart? That's why everyone thought he was dead and had a funeral.
Dave says. I didn't think he was dead. You protest, but Dave shushes you. Vriska squints at him for a moment before answering. The ghosts killed my ancestor, and then the side of the ship ripped open and let the void in. Everything else dissolved into darkness. It wasn't explosive decompression. That makes singing kinda hard, you joke weakly with Vriska after you repeat her words. Dave smacks you in the chest and shoots you a scolding look. You guess he just wants you to repeat and not be part of this at all, which is kind of rude in your opinion. Ah yes, Solix is coming up against the same problem that I have to fight off every stream.
Tell me everything that happened from the moment the ship ripped open. Everything, he says to her.
He continued the song. More of the ship vanished around us, and the doctor was running out of places to back up. She was trying to avoid the void, but it got her. She knew about the void. She knew what was happening. The ghosts were people she had kidnapped, experimented on, tortured. This was personal, and the void wanted her for it because they wanted her. It pulled her into the dark, and I hope it hurt. Then the floor was gone under us, and we were in the void. We held on to each other and tried to work out what to do, Vriska says. As soon as you start to repeat Vriska's words for Dave, you see him draw in a big breath of anticipation or something. I was telling him that there wasn't anywhere to go. It's the void. Vriska's continuation is cut off as Dave has to gasp in another sudden breath, and you realize that he was holding his breath all of that time. Before you can ask him what he's doing, he starts talking, and the translator does its thing.
So, I got that far holding my breath, and I'm not exposed to the outside of space, and you said Dave was singing, too. How did he not suffocate?
How the hell should I know? Sailors and their weird singing magic? Vriska says, and you repeat.
Sure, let's say it's weird singing magic. Let's say that I start holding my breath from the moment that song is finished. I don't know how quickly you aliens plan and host funerals, but I feel pretty safe saying that it takes longer than I can hold my breath, Dave says as he stares right at Vriska. The void is weird. Unreality, you begin, but Dave motions at you to be quiet. Vriska smiles. It's not a nice smile. It's a classic Vriska in full bitch mode kind of smile. You hadn't missed it at all. I can't help but notice that none of your dead family is spending time with you. If you keep this up, then none of your family from this ship will either, Vriska says, sweet and deadly, like antifreeze. Dave looks at you expectantly, so you repeat Vriska's mean words, and in the time it takes you to do that, she phases through the floor away from you both.
Dave is clearly annoyed by her words, but it looks like he's choosing not to react to it. You suppose that he did raise 2 kids who were shitty teens at some point. He's probably used to that kind of thing. Vriska isn't a teenager, of course, but she's acting like a shitty teen all the same. I did warn you that she was a bitch. What were you trying to get out there? Do you think she was lying about something? You ask.
Are you seriously telling me that everything she said seems fine to you? That all checks out? Even the timing of everything?
Dave asks you, with a tone of despair in his voice. You're not really sure what he means, so you figure you'll explain as much as you can about your thoughts. Hopefully you'll get somewhere. It's not as if I trust Vriska, but she's dead and Dave was the only person who could see her. She stuck with him, and I get that. She didn't want to go out alone, and he didn't either. Dave tried to keep her with him when he got here, and she was with him last night in the gym so that he didn't come out of his meditation alone in the dark in panic. I'm pretty sure her motives were more self-interested and scared than she's letting on, but I don't think she's lying exactly. You say, in Alternian, so the translator can convey your more complex thoughts without you having to go through English.
How did he survive with no air, much less sing? Dave presses you.
You shrug, and Dave looks a little bit like he wants to hit you with the translator. I don't know. Time and space get weird in the void. I got through it to get to you in the past. I pulled you here with it. It can't have been as much time for them as it was for us. I've seen how the void does impossible shit. I've seen it reach through shuttles. I've seen it mess with spacesuits so a helmet that couldn't come off did. The void wanted to eat his mom. Maybe it wanted to eat his fear that he was next, or eat all of his emotions about her dying. There was air around. It's not that unthinkable that it kept him alive for a while to savor that or something. It's horrifying, but not impossible. You explain, and long to get back to your Dave so you can be near him and be grateful that he got back at all. You'll hug him if he lets you. This Dave sighs and closes his eyes for a few seconds. It makes him look old. You know that he is old, that a lot of time passed for him in a relatively short span of your life, but now he really seems old and exhausted. He smiles after that, even though it's a little bit brittle, and seems to move on.
I was thinking about my great-grandson. He used to do a lot for all of you with this supernatural stuff.
He starts. He's been pretty firm about being retired now. Seems fair to me, you say.
Right. How about working with original flavor Dave Strider instead of the new one that's stopped working? I'm getting that what I do is a little bit different than how you all work, but I want to be part of this. It's not like I can work regular jobs since I know fuck all about tech here, but I can do supernatural shit. Maybe it's all the capitalism in my brain, but I want to be useful. He tells you.
You know you're still going to have food and somewhere to live, right? It's not like where you're from. You remind him, worried that he's worried about it.
Yeah. Space, gay, communist future. I love it. Living the dream, but I still want to be part of this.
Dave nods. I think the carapations can balance too, but sure. More people means less work for me, and I love slacking off. You say with a grin.
Cool. Invite me to stuff and keep me in the loop then.
Dave smiles at you, looking younger and more himself all at once. You agree easily and part ways with this Dave and head back towards your room to locate your Dave, figuring you'll check in there and then go to the main rooms after that. It's a very easy search, as it happens, because Dave is in your shared room already with Karkat on the bed together. The sight is exciting, but not salaciously so. Dave is letting Karkat hold his hands, even though he was so avoidant about that before. Karkat is very carefully clipping and filing Dave's nails for him, smoothing out the rough edges and clipping away where the nail is torn so it doesn't get worse.
Tollux, Dave says, with a note of fear and alarm in his voice. Clearly you startled him when you opened the door, but
he's starting to relax already. Karkat's hand is open and waiting for Dave, the other holding the claw file. Dave relaxes and puts his trembling hand back into Karkat's. Feel free to call me an asshole for asking. You start, and ignore both Karkat and Dave immediately doing so. But is that a nervous shake because I burst in here, or is that still an injury thing? Dave looks over at you, dark eyes running up your body to rest on your face. He licks his chapped bottom lip for a split second and then utters the word, both, in a way that makes lightning run up your spine and fills your whole soul with little fluttering spades. It doesn't seem to be getting better yet, but it's really early days for healing, Dave. I'm happy that you're letting me help you with this, since you couldn't do this well yourself. Karkat says gently to Dave as he files away at Dave's ragged middle fingernail. Dave sulkily protests that he did try to do it himself, but between the shaking and not wanting anyone else to touch his hands, he couldn't do any better than he did. Karkat, of course, reassures him, but you're not really listening to either of them. Your mind is playing you visions of how Dave said he got his hands so injured. How he was desperately clawing at a floor panel with his bare hands, trying to find a way to get into the system, to get to the helmsman and put him out of his misery, to slow the ship down so you could rescue him. That sort of damage doesn't happen instantly. That's so much desperate clawing at metal and sealant to get hands like that. His fingers cut on the edges of the metal panels, and he kept going, one nail torn and then more following because he didn't or couldn't bring himself to stop. Or maybe it was the lab as well. Voltage running into Dave's arms as his mother tortured him to use powers he no longer had, fingers spasming and digging into a hard lab table as electricity tightens tendons and muscles. You wish Dr. Lalonde was alive again so you could kill her yourself. You sit on the floor by the foot of the bed and watch Karkat work. He files and trims with care. He's pilfered some of that paraffin-based horn polish from somewhere, and ever so carefully he works it into raw and scratched finger pads, into the join between nail and finger, around the cuticles. It's how Karkat works. Every task and service is an act of love. His open hands that wait whenever Dave has to pull back are proof that he can be trusted. Dave was hurt incredibly badly, but he's safe here. I wanted to ask you something, Dave. You say softly from the floor, your chin resting on the edge of the bed.
Go for it.
Dave trails off for a moment there as Karkat's application of the paraffin stuff reveals some ragged bit of skin that Karkat delicately trims with his cuticle clipper things. You can see the tension in Dave's body as he processes the threat and then forces himself to ignore it because it's Karkat. I was talking to Dave, and he wanted to help out with the balancer stuff, and you've been very firm on quitting that. You lead in, keeping an eye on Dave's reaction to the topic, so you can bail if you have to. He's retiring. I'm gonna throw the biggest and tackiest party for it, Karkat informs you, which matches up with what you heard in the night.
By request. I want it so tacky.
Dave agrees. Awful. I'm dreading it already. So, I've got admin access to the balancer chat now. I was going to ask the others about adding him, but I wanted to know if you wanted me to remove you, too. You say. Dave is silent for a few long seconds. He's looking at his hand as Karkat works on it, but it's more like he's thinking about what you said than actually watching what Karkat is doing.
I don't have a ghost anymore. Haven't for... yeah. Even if I wasn't retired and quitting, it's not like I was useful in there. And I am retired and quitting, so go for it. You can all message me outside of it anyway if you really have to.
Dave says, but you don't think you're going to want to drag him in at all after everything he's been through. He also doesn't ask how you got admin access to that, because the answer to that is hacking during increasingly desperate attempts to find you alive somewhere, and no one wants to think about that. Noted. I'll do both things at once then, you say, and neither your boyfriend nor your partner indulges you in commenting on your number thing. So rude. I had a plan for after I'm done with your nails. Well, your nails and your hands, actually. Karkat begins.
Is Solix getting the manicure treatment next? Since you lured me into this by doing yours first.
Dave says. Karkat doesn't respond to that, and you bet that it's because he was looking after his bitten down claws in front of Dave as a way to ease into trying to take care of him too. It's overstating it to say that he lured Dave in, but it's not exactly wrong either. I'm good. I don't really bite mine when I'm stressed, unlike Karkat. you say instead of that. As much as you'd normally point out Karkat's behavior to tease him, you don't want to make Dave feel controlled or manipulated here. It'd be really easy to do that, and it's not worth the risk just to annoy Karkat. Solix does far less healthy things when he's stressed, Karkat remarks pointedly, so you pull a face at him. Karkat runs a finger over the edge of one of Dave's nails. He's had to cut and file it at a weird angle because the nail clearly broke at some point, but Karkat's investigation proves that the edges are all smooth. Dave's not going to get his fingernails snagged on anything and hurt himself, and he's not going to scratch himself by mistake and startle himself. Karkat moves on to the next finger, checking each one in turn as he talks. I ordered something to be delivered, since you were getting things sent from home too. I checked with Equius, and he said it was okay. It's something to help your skin heal on your arms. Dave's arms are fucked up. There's no two ways about it. There's several bruises and various shades of newness, evidence of either Mindfang or Dave's mother grabbing him to pull him somewhere against his will, or to hold him in place. On top of that, his skin is raw and even a little blistered in places from the electroshocks that he got. As a finisher to all of that, there's little scrapes and bruises from falling to the ground when Mindfang got him. Even though Dave has been more physical with you and Karkat as time has passed, he's still very obviously on edge with being touched there. Karkat reaches over the edge of the bed and grabs a jar that he'd tucked away. He's deliberately not in Dave's space or looking at him when he starts talking again. I thought that you might want to use it, but since you were alright with me fixing your nails for you, then maybe you'd let me do it? Your hands are still shaky and your grip isn't totally controlled yet, but I could be careful for you, if you want. It's up to you. Dave is still and silent, not frozen in fear, but not relaxed either. Maybe you can help here. You reach out and grab the jar from Karkat. Don't just snatch things from people. Fuck, Cyclops' dad didn't bring you up right at all. He dragged you up. Karkat bitches at you, though you pointedly ignore him. You read the palm-sized jar. Soothing Serene Skin Salve, TM. A soothing luxury balm for skin, promotes healing and improved circulation, specially selected aromatics to aid in sleep and relaxation with the power of aromatherapy. Brightens skin, reduces dark marks, increases cell turnover, and speeds the body's natural healing process. Melting body temperature oil spread easily across the skin for a smooth application. There's more on the label, I'm just bored of reading it. It was very highly reviewed, Karkat says defensively.
You'd bet it was very highly priced, too.
You unscrew the lid, sniff it, and hold it out to Dave. Smell that? Dave hesitates for a moment, but chooses to lean in and sniff at the jar too. He has a guess at the scent.
Something orangey, maybe?
I think that might be the bergamot, Karkat suggests. No. You pull it back and sniff again. That's definitely marketing bullshit. Dave chokes laughs as Karkat gives you a withering look. Dave catches sight of that look and starts laughing all over again. Tension broken. You're a genius forever and always. Your support in this trying time means so much to me, Karkat deadpans. You're welcome, you chirp at him sweetly. Dave, still snickering to himself, takes the jar from your hand. You hadn't expected him to do so, but you absolutely let him have it. He touches a trembling finger to the balm inside. You don't think it's shaking from fear, but instead from that new tremor that he's picked up. You hope that's temporary. You'd hate for it to impact his ability to draw or tattoo people.
Is this even going to do anything that it says? Dave wonders.
Hydrating your skin does help with healing, and... Karkat answers.
I know that.
Dave interrupts. As you say, he does tattoos. Karkat gives the pair of you an annoyed but patient look, as if to say, any more interruptions? No? Then I will continue. It's an expressive look. The balm part of it should hopefully provide enough slip to it that I can get your muscles to relax a little, and that should help them heal. I think some of the ingredients in this might do something to your circulation, but then so does rubbing your skin at all, and circulation is good for healing. Equius said that it won't make anything worse, so you've got medical approval there. I'm reasonably sure that the smell of it isn't going to magically relax you and make you sleep perfectly. That probably is marketing gibberish. I'm not defending that part. Karkat snorts dismissively at that last part. Yeah, if you want aromatherapy to put you to sleep right away, then what you've actually got is chloroform. You joke. My insomniac ass has begged you so many times for that stuff, and you've never got it for me, Karkat says in faux offense. I'm getting real mixed messages about how much trouble and how much crime you want me doing at any moment here, Karkat, you retort. As the two of you play bicker, Dave is thoughtfully sniffing at the jar of balm again and looking at the label. You're not sure if he's going to go for it or not, but he hasn't acrobatically flipped off of the handle, as the Striders would say. God damn it, they do infect your vocabulary. It does smell very nature, spiritual, chakras, herbal, healing scented. It smells about as far from medical as you can get, Dave observes slyly, his dark eyes pinning the suddenly frozen Karkat in place. Ah, this is Dave. Dave who has an intense aversion to medical settings. Dave who hates the smell of antiseptic, who needed Equius to remove the sticky sensation of the medical sensor pads from his skin. Dave who once kicked a medic in the face during a panic attack because they put on latex gloves and tried to grab him when smelling like a hospital. Karkat brings Dave something to try to heal him and purposefully gets something that dodges as many of those associations as possible. You're not slick, Dave comments and tosses the jar back to Karkat. He doesn't sound annoyed or anything. He doesn't seem angry at Karkat for trying to work around all of that. He could simply want to point out that he sees what's going on here, which could be because he's trying to hold on to some sense of control by proving that he's not fooled. Or you could be overthinking this because it's Dave and words come out of his mouth all the time without going through his brain first. Probably the second one. He is kind of slick from all the clock hair stuff he was using, you point out, and Dave does a little half-shrug thing. Fair? Okay, yeah, let's do this. Make it happen. I might have to bail or pause for a moment, but... Dave pauses and forces out a tense breath before continuing. But I refuse to not have nice things. I want my boyfriend to touch me. I didn't go through all of that to give those two the satisfaction of ruining shit for me forever. Spite is an excellent motivator. Tell me if you need a break, if it hurts, or if you want me to stop. Do not make a sex joke, Solix. I can see it on your face. Karkat warns you, shooting you a stern look as he dips his fingers into the jar of balm. You look as innocent as possible. As innocent as can be. You aren't doing anything wrong, nor have you ever, in your whole entire life.
Of course, I'll let you know. Like a red, yellow, green thing. I'll tell you how I'm doing. Absolutely. And it'd be great if Solix just sits there the whole time and watches us.
Dave agrees. Equally innocent. Karkat glares at Dave, and when that glare turns on you, it's more than you can take, and you break down laughing. I win, Dave says smugly, and holds his arm out to Karkat, who is amazingly pissed off. Karkat still takes Dave's arm in his hands with incredible gentleness, despite how annoyed he seems at your antics. In all honesty, it's probably acting like this with Dave that's letting him relax enough to tolerate this kind of thing. You are helping, even if it doesn't look like it. Karkat gently rubs his hands over all of Dave's offered forearm, pausing now and then to get more balm so that all of his skin is shiny with it. When everything is covered, he turns his focus on Dave's wrist. You can see a scratch from either a claw or a fingernail, along with the imprints of a hand and fingers in bruised hues ringing Dave's wrist. Karkat is gentle, not putting any real pressure at all on the tender skin. You watch as Karkat flexes Dave's wrist one way and sees how the bend of it makes his fingers tremble. Dave sucks in a pained little breath as Karkat rubs over the transition between the heel of his palm on his thumb side and his wrist. Karkat glances up, but Dave mutters green at him. The system helpful, despite the earlier sex jokes. I Ow, is that a cut? I didn't show you, did I, Saul? Dave asks, not looking at you. Karkat apologizes quietly for the cut that he seemingly touched and continues. Show me what? You wonder, curious about whether Dave is trying to distract himself or not.
I talked to my doc, obviously. He showed me the puppies.
Dave tells you with a smile. Really? What do they look like? I've been trying to work out if they'd be like Cinnamon Toast on stilts or Beck's body on an inch of legs. You ask, the mental image making you grin. They're puppies. They won't be tall either way at this age. Karkat reasons as he rubs over the back of Dave's wrist and forearm with his hand bent the other way. Dave looks as if he's trying to use newly acquired psionics to pick up something on the other side of the room, his gaze distant and a look of focus on his face. It's only when your palm husk pings that you realize he was selecting an image from his eyes to send you. Several images, in fact. You've never really been an animal person, much less a dog person. Beck's little growling incident didn't help, but you have to say that the beast has grown on you since you've lived with him, even if he is haunted too. In fairness, you're haunted, so you're not gonna hold it against Beck for being spooky as well. He can definitely be cute, and you've appreciated how he's looked out for you when you weren't well, not to mention how much he assists Dave. Despite all of that, you weren't prepared for just how cute you were going to find these tiny dogs. The noise that comes out of you sounds more like it belongs to Nepeto when confronted with cat videos, but you can't help it! Beck and Cinnamon Toast have had several puppies. All of them look different to each other, but all of them resemble their parents in one way or another. Firstly, there's a small white one that is nearly a perfect sphere of white fluff. There may be feet under all of that, but you can't be sure at all. Teeny corgi ears are the only thing that stick out of the round shape, and below them are bright gold eyes, a little nose, and the happiest open-mouthed puppy smile there is. The next puppy is small, but more obviously the same shape of dog that Beck is. It's white on its legs, chest, and belly, but elsewhere it has the corgi coloring that Cinnamon Toast has. It leaves you with the distinct impression that this cannot be a dog, but must instead be a dog-shaped marshmallow that has been perfectly toasted. The third puppy, and last that you have a picture of, must have been designed to be fatal to your nervous system. It has one ear standing up and one flopped over. Its tongue is sticking out as it looks up at the camera in canine confusion. Most of its coat is shorter and smoother than Beck's, except for its chest, which is fluffed up with one part of it even stuck to the puppy's tongue. But the coloring of the puppy is what gets you. On one side, the puppy is pure snow white, just like Beck, but the other half is just like Cinnamon Toast, right down to the pattern and coloring. It's a perfect split in coat and eye color. Even its eyes are mismatched. I knew you were right, but wow! Karkat chuckles, drawing your eyes away from the photo of the universe's most perfect puppy.
Doc wanted to stick with food names for the puppies, like Cinnamon Toast. I suggested that one's name. She's Lemon Sherbet.
Dave informs you with a smile. It takes you a moment to realize why he picked that name, but when you do, you almost die in delight. It's your flavor in Karkat's ice cream dream. He named the puppy after you! I think you broke his thing sponge, Karkat observes, which is pretty accurate as you've got your face pressed into the bed to muffle your incoherent sounds of glee.
It was broken when I got it.
Dave's burn at your expense suddenly stops, and you look up to see Karkat's thumb very close to the scarred outline of a sensor on his skin. Dave has absolutely frozen up. He's not even breathing. Words, Dave, you remind him. Dave starts to say red, and Karkat immediately lets him go, except the rest of the word doesn't come out. It's the beginning of an R and nothing else. Dave's face twists into a scowl, and you can see how hard he's gritting his teeth.
Nah, fuck this. Not red. It's orange. As long as you're not that close, it's cool, which doesn't make sense because you got your hands over my whole arm earlier when you were putting this stuff on me. I liked the rest. You were making me less tense and sore.
Dave tells Karkat, the words coming out clunky and deliberate, but he obviously means them. You eye Dave's arm and figure that Karkat's open palm smoothing the melted balm over his skin, even over the area where he was shocked, is a different feeling to fingertips there. Karkat was carefully rubbing Dave's muscles and trying to relax him, but it could feel a lot like fingers applying a shock sensor right on Dave's skin. One feels more threatening than the other. You'll point this out later, but not now. Dave is starting to relax again as Karkat continues. You don't want to bring him back to that awful experience when he's clearly trying very hard to adjust to people touching him again. You stay where you are and mess with your palm husk, meaning Dave isn't alone, but he's also not being studied either. You remove your Dave from the balancer chat and let him know when you've done it. He seems pretty pleased, and it starts up a conversation between him and Karkat about Dave's retirement party and just how tacky it can be. You let the other Dave know that you'll add him to the group, but he needs a balancer call sign. You explain the rules to him and expect it to take him a while. It took you and Karkat some time to come up with yours. One of you significantly longer than the other. Dave sent me back a balancer name really fast. I explained the rules and it seems to fit. You announce, somewhat suspicious that something is going on here and you're missing it. What is it? Karkat asks suspiciously. Clearly he suspects something too. I think it's in Spanish. Grandpa-pho-no? You try, sounding it out. Karkat frowns and tries saying the word. You think you might have broken the syllables down in the wrong place. You turn your palm husk around to show them, cutting you out as a source of error. Dave's head tips back and he barks out aloud. Ha! Grandpa-pho-no. It's a sort of cross-language pun. Gramola is like a jukebox, and that's close to gramphono. Then you splice in the word for grandfather or grandpa, and you have that. Karkat groans despairingly. It's so good, Dave manages in a high voice, pitched up through the effort of suppressing his giggles. Striders, of course. You grumble and add him anyway. You're not even gonna try to talk him out of this. Striders commit to the bit. That's just the way it is. You respect it, even if it infuriates you in equal measure. No way will he change it now. Your whole family is absurd, Karkat tells Dave. Thanks. You know, maybe I should talk to my uncle and grandmother. The last time I saw them, they murdered Bro, and I definitely felt some kind of way about that, but maybe now I'm not so fucked up about losing the ability to balance, I could have actually talked to them. I've definitely seen them around, Dave says, seemingly considering the dead members of his family a little bit more favorably now than before. We're all in quarantine, so it's something to do. If you want to talk to them, then why not? Karkat agrees. I might find Rose first, hang out with her. Oh, or maybe she'd want to talk to them too, Dave adds, and there's a hint of excitement to his voice. You love that. He gets to plan things for his life. He made it back here alive and has a life to live. It's so good to see him living the thing. You chill out and watch the balancer chat as Gamzee and Aradia explain a few things, with small pauses as Earth Dave clearly runs things through his translator. You've assigned him as a future balancer for now because, well, he's in the future, isn't he? You can change it later if you're wrong, it's whatever. This way he gets to talk to people. Right now he's asking about how the dreams work and what Aradia saw in her dream with Karkat. It's cool that he's getting involved, and that Gamzee and Aradia seem fine with him. He lost his whole life on Earth. You want him to have something meaningful here now that he's lost that. It's not like it's great right now, but things are looking up a bit more for Dave Striders in general. And now I'm going to look up because we made it to break, baby! I'll be back in a few minutes. I have got to eat food, or else I'm going to fucking wither away. Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Like an enemy in Breath of the Wild. Yeah, that's what'll happen if I don't eat, now. So, I'll be back in a few. Oh, wait. Before I do. The fucking eyebrow thing. Face journey. I drew it. Look.
That's what this tab was open for. This is... You're hearing that, right? Okay, are you fucking with me? Oh, now I understand. Alright. Now I'm gonna switch over. See you in a few.
And we're back. There you go. Proof that I both ate food and drinked. That's definitely grammatically correct. Man. It's so sad. I'm still hungry. But I'm not dying anymore, and that's the important part. That's the vital part of it. So. Oh yeah, that's the one single voice acting credit I have. No, it's not. It's not. I don't have any voice acting credits except for this! Oh, man. Alright, let's get back to it. Let us get back to it. Karkat finishes with Dave's arms, and the three of you chill for some time after that. Eventually, Dave does go off to find Rose, and leaves you and Karkat alone.
You stretch out happily on the bed and have another look at the fancy balm that Karkat bought. He's not used that much at all. Clearly he can keep doing this with Dave for a long time. As much as he gave Karkat shit about this, it probably will help Dave heal up. I know it was hell getting here, and it wasn't worth it or whatever, because that's shit, but things feel good now. There's still so much to deal with, but it feels like things are getting better. You say happily, actually feeling optimistic for once. Karkat doesn't say anything, so you roll over on the bed to look at him. His face is a picture of dread, and he's biting his lip to stop himself from saying anything at all. Okay. You did sign up to be Karkat's Moirail, even if you'd help him with his negativity when you were friends, so it's definitely on you to deal with this. You feel like something terrible is about to happen, but you can't work out what it is yet? You guess. It's not like you're unfamiliar with the feeling. Karkat nods mutely, eyes wide with fear. If this, then that, you suggest. The whole if this, then that is kind of a programming thing, but mostly it's a you and Karkat thing. Sometimes Karkat needs to be broken out of his emotions and reset, and from what you heard about his thing with Gamzee, that was his way of dealing with it. Which isn't... It's not entirely wrong. Sometimes Karkat gets worked up into such a lather about everything that he's irrational, or he can't figure out the answer when he's too amped up. Everyone gets like that sometimes, sure. Often that doesn't work, and it doesn't work that often with you either, which is why you and Karkat have your method. If this, then that, accepts whatever batshit idea that's proposed is true, and then works out what you do if that happens. It's a good way for your think sponge to stop gnawing at an idea, because you have a plan now, and you can either drop it until that situation does occur, and you put your plan in place, or the act of planning and talking about it eases the worry altogether. You give the hypothetical situation a destination and stop it looping endlessly. Things like this are why Karkat originally agreed to come to Vikari's funeral with you when you were going to sneak in. You weren't going to let it go, so he was going to go with you so he could reason it out with you later. In fairness, you were actually right about the massive supernatural conspiracy then, but if anything, that's an argument for hearing out the big impossible ideas. What if something's really wrong with Dave, and we don't know because he won't get examined? Karkat whispers. The things said in these times are absolutely secret and judgment-free. They're often things you'd never otherwise say, or even not even dare to suggest. You give no reassurances here. If this, then that, assumes the worst, that something is seriously wrong with Dave. You accept the this of the idea. You're helping him deal with touch. We both are. The more he feels better, the sooner he'll let EQ look him over. We can suggest it later, if you want. If we force him, then he'll never trust us again, so we can't do that, and we wouldn't. You say. I couldn't live with myself if we did. Karkat agrees, because it's a horrible thought, but you have to say it, if only to rule it out. If he gets a more detailed checkup, and there is something wrong, but EQ gets it too late, then Dave can have robotic parts too, or he'll live with it. Being disabled isn't the worst thing. If it was something life-threatening, then we'd see him get worse first, and he'd probably accept help. And if he doesn't, then you steel yourself for your next words. Then he dies with people who love him instead of in space or at his mother's hands. The idea is awful. It's nightmare fuel, but pretending it's not there isn't helping. Karkat breathes a shuddery breath and then nods. What if the captain is found not guilty and we're found guilty instead? That's still going on, along with all of this shit. Karkat says in a panicked rush. You'd almost forgotten about all that. I committed treason for you once. I'd do it a second time. Actually, you know I'd love it if we did it a second time. I don't care if I have to steal this whole ship and go pirate to protect you and the others, and I think Dave would space anyone who tried to take any of us. If the fleet is on her side and not ours, then I don't want to be part of that fleet. you say simply. Karkat tries to protest, saying that you have to consider everyone else on the ship. You have to think about how the fleet would be out to get you if you did that. You do not care. You are ride or die for Karkat, and you always have been. You were hatched to be. Even your ancestors were like this. You will fight the universe for him, and you have zero doubt in your mind when you say that Dave would too. What if Dave never recovers more than this? Karkat asks, his gaze directed down at his hands that are still soft from the traces of balm on them. Then he never recovers more than this. We figure out what he can deal with and what he can't, and we work with that. I was cool with never being able to pale Dave when we first got together. He wasn't sure he was into that, even if it turned out that he was. If we go back to that because he can't deal with that much touching, then we do that. I know you feel the same. You point out. Of course, I wasn't saying what if I never get my bulge wet with him again, Karkat says defensively. You roll your eyes at him and go on. Obviously, but he knows that we were okay with not having that, so it'd be fine. After his fucked up childhood and everything he just went through, I wouldn't be surprised if he was never normal again, but we'd make something work. We like being around that dumbass, and I can be pitch with him without touching him at all, and with what you read, I'm sure you can write him all sorts of things to get him there without even touch. Shut up! Karkat hisses, getting to his knees and shoving his hand over your mouth. Karkat lets out a shuddery breath. It's anger at first, because you were insinuating Karkat writing Dave erotic messages as a way of dealing with his red feelings, which, as a side note, probably would be an interesting move no matter what. Karkat leans forward and rests his head on against the top of yours, his nubby horns clicking against your own. It feels like something terrible is looming overhead, out of sight. That dream I had was so ominous, and waking up without Dave was so scary. I'm terrified that something is going to go wrong. With him, with the ship, with the captain, with you. I was so sure that you were going to have an episode or a breakdown when it looked like Dave was gone. And I think there's still things there that you're not dealing with, but I know something bad is going to happen. I don't know what, and it's terrifying. Karkat says, his breath shifting your hair by his mouth with each frightened word. Karkat's breath catches as you wrap your arms around him and pull him close, shifting so he's sitting in your lap. You squeeze him close and splay your hands over his back, remembering how strong he was when you were training for your mission. It fits with how strong he is emotionally, carrying everything for everyone. You're already helping Dave. We'll help him get better and get him to get checked by Aqueous as much as he can handle each time. I'm talking to the other Dave to check that he's okay, and we'll figure out the supernatural shit as it comes. We can't do anything about the captain until it happens, but I said what I'd do if it came to it. Dave knows we care. He's alive. We did the impossible. Sometimes you just get a win. It doesn't always go wrong. I've got your back, okay, Karkat? I'll watch what's going on too, and if I see things going wrong, then we'll figure something out. You promise him. Karkat nods and keeps holding you close. You're not telling him that he's imagining it, that he's worried for nothing, but you have a plan for his worst fears, and you're promising to keep an eye out for anything else. You're a team. He's not going to admit any of this to Dave right now. He's got enough to deal with, but you've got his back on this. Karkat leans back, still tense. He even shakes his hands out a little to try to dissipate the tension lingering in them. His lip is pulled back a bit to show off one of his sharper, albeit still slightly rounded, teeth, a subconscious little snarl to try to scare away the anxiety that's lingering around. It's not going to work, but that's what's happening. You've helped, but he's still too tightly wound. Now would be the time for turning Karkat's think sponge off, because he's worked himself up too much. Now that you've dealt with the thoughts in that thick skull of his, you can deal with calming the rest of him down. Apply hand to Karkat's cheek. It's tech support 101. Try turning your Karkat off and on again to see if that works. Time passes, and you eventually have Karkat as chill as you're going to get him without some sort of industrial-level tranquilizer. All of this makes you pretty calm, too, since Soothing your Moirail is a two-way street with you two. Some people prefer it to be very separated. Either they're doing the shooshing or they're getting it. Some people even only ever want to be on one side of that equation. People are varied, but if you can have both of anything, then it's a pretty safe bet that it's what you'll choose. Besides, Karkat has never been passive a day in his life, and he's not starting now. I'm really glad that I have you. I always have been, but now it's... although before this, we were... Karkat's nice comment is taking a turn. You can see it coming. Karkat is grateful that he has you. Karkat wants to acknowledge that you were always supportive of each other.
Oh, a chance to feel guilty about something. Gotta take that!
You are steering this negative spiral away before it gets going. You stretch lazily and reach up to squish his face in your hand a little. It's not a pap, it's more you're squishing his cheeks together to make him look silly. You should be grateful. I'm stellar. A treat to be with. You brag. What I was going to say, Karkat continues, despite definitely steering away from the conversational disaster you foresaw a moment ago, is that it's so good that we have each other. It means that we can be better and calmer versions of ourselves for Dave. Hell, for this whole clusterfuck of a situation. We can manage things without putting any of that burden on him. Our arrangement was one of Dave's better ideas. He can't say dumb shit all the time. He's gotta have variety, you say with a grin. Your insults are incredibly toothless when I know how much Dave's competency and intelligence actually does things for you. You're not fooling me. Karkat laughs at you. Incredibly accurate in his statement. It's not your fault that your pitch is hell for Dave. It's not your fault that watching him be badass is your personal kryptonite. I think that's why I like watching you verbally beat people down too. Clearly I just appreciate the people I'm into being the best at things. You muse. Karkat smiles at you. It's a nice smile to you, but it suggests that he's about to be a real bastard about something. You think you might be in for a fun front row seat to Karkat flexing his ability to shit-talk people. At least, you think so until both of your palm husks go off with the specific chime for the balancer chat. Maybe it's just Earth Dave talking to the others and setting off the important message ping without meaning to? You say hopefully. The devices ping again, and you reluctantly float them over to you, wondering when you're going to develop the sailor's superstitious instincts that stop you jinxing yourself like this. It seems like the answer might be never. Grumpophono pinged users Pagliacci, Duelist, Megalodon, Hematocrit, and Grumpophono.
Nah, you do it like this.
Pagliacci issued a team ping.
Oh, I thought maybe Ping Team would get other ships too. Nah, there's a whole extra ass channel for talking to them. Hematocrit and Duelist. Grumpophono wants to talk about the whole dreaming thing and see if he can do it tonight. Says he's got some kind of weird suspicion about something going on.
First of all, fuck you for that pun name, but I'm up for trying to share a dream. We've got so many unanswered questions, and I'd be all for answering some of them. Just so long as I don't start getting horrible migraines again or burning holes in any walls.
Okay, I could get used to his yelling, but Solix, your way of writing is leet speak hell.
I no longer work for HR. I'm not getting involved in how okay it is or isn't to comment on someone's typing quirk, and none of you can make me do it. Oh, boo, you're no fun. KK's lack of HR rant aside, is this the same kind of thing you were talking to me about earlier? How something about how Laika got back and the door is messed up and weird to you? It did weird shit to time, like you said, so I'm not denying how weird it is.
Wait, why is your name and color different? Tip from me to you. Don't acknowledge the weird shit that he up and does. I think it encourages him to do it more.
Wow, what the fuck? So rude. Gamzee. Thank you. You should know that encouragement has absolutely no bearing on whether Solix does weird shit or not. Come on, you know better. And here I thought we had such a mutual breakup, but here you are, stabbing me in the back like the meanest of exes.
Sniles at you. I need popcorn for this.
Anyway, ignoring all of that, I'll send you all a calendar invite for a time to try to dream together. I'll put an hour before alert on it so we can all try to wind down at the same time. That should give us the best shot.
I'm getting the impression that you're the mom friend.
I don't know what that means, but I feel like I should be offended. I'm leaving before this gets worse. I'm so glad that we both answered that message so we could both be insulted, Karkat mutters, and you can't help but agree. Instead of sulking about being insulted, you decide that what you really want is food. It's almost time for dinner anyway, and you bet that Mr. Egbert is cooking, so you know it'll be good. You lead Karkat towards the kitchen in the hope of being able to swipe something early, or perhaps to be a willing test subject for whatever's being cooked. Unfortunately for you, Mr. Egbert catches your attempts to sneak some food and sets you up with a task to make up for your crimes. The man has ninja senses, because you were even using your psionics to try to sneak something to eat, but he did raise 7 teenagers, so he clearly got a lot of practice in. Can you go find Dave so we can have dinner? He asks you, after catching you. Which one? Karkat asks. It's a needed level of clarification these days. Ah, well, good point. I meant my son, but I actually sent the other Dave off to look for him about 5 minutes ago, and he's not come back. It's entirely possible that they've both become distracted by something silly. Mr. Egbert says. Yeah, that sounds about right. We'll do our best, Karkat promises, and the two of you leave the kitchen with your new quest. The pair of you walk off down the corridor, away from the kitchen, as you try to think of places that Dave might have wandered off to. The gym is a pretty solid guess. Even if he's not working out, it's still a big space to hang out in that's not as busy as the main living area. Then again, he could be in Rose's room or in any of the meeting rooms. That's assuming that he's not clipped through the wall and snuck off to go cause more chaos, or possibly to pet some puppies. You could troll him, but that takes the fun out of this, and you don't have a lot of entertainment in quarantine to start with. Do you hear that? Karkat asks, slowing to a stop and turning his head this way and that to locate some sound. You stop as well and listen, but you don't hear anything notable. You can hear the distant sounds of the kitchen, the murmur of people talking far away in the main living area, and normal stuff. What was it? You ask, keeping your words brief so you can go back to listening in case whatever Karkat heard starts up again. Music. I think it was music. It's stopped now. Karkat answers you slowly. Both of you stand there, straining your ears, but you can't hear any music now. Karkat can't hear it either, because he motions for you to start walking again, and the pair of you silently continue on your path. You find Vriska lurking by herself in a hallway a minute later, but she slips through a wall rather than talk to either of you. That's kinda rude, but you're hardly devastated by it. As you approach the end of that corridor, you and Karkat both freeze. You can hear it again. It's not exactly music, you don't hear any instruments at all, but it's vocal and has too much melody and beat to be just speech. It sounds like some of the sailor shanties, but with how muffled it is, you can't pick it out. You and Karkat exchange a look, confirming that you can both hear that, and as one, you speed up and turn the corner. It's there that you find Dave, the older one, not the younger one. He's standing in the corridor by a doorway. You didn't catch him about to go in there. He's waiting and listening. He holds a finger up to his lips, so you keep quiet as you walk closer, and when you get to the door, you can hear the words being sung. It's Dave, but it's not just him. It's several other voices too, both male and female.
Oh, I won't go sailing anymore. I won't obey the ocean's call. I'm staying right here. I'll be a man of the land. I'll be a man of the trees. I'll be a man wherever my woman will be. I won't be any captain's mate.
Oh, you can definitely pick Dave's voice out of there, and you don't need to guess why he's singing this song of all things.
A 14 hours cabin boy to fear some Captain Buckleroy. I'm staying right here. When I was sick, he ordered cat o' nine until I said that I felt fine. I'm staying.
Yeah, that's a note of coercion that matches up with his past perfectly. You lean forward and catch sight of Dave through the door. He's got his back to you, and he's not alone. To your surprise, he's with Rose, who's singing along as she reads off a tablet, but she's also accompanied by their uncle, grandmother, and Earth Dave's mother, Rosa.
A 20 I manned that crow's nest and captain said I was the best. I'm staying right here. But I nearly lost my eyes to God just looking out for old Cape Cod. I'm staying right here. I'll be a man.
You're about to comment on how fitting it is that Dave is singing about losing his eyes, but Karkat speaks first. Well, he whispers. That doesn't feel like balancing. Yeah, it doesn't have a ghost. You whisper back, and Karkat gives you a look like you're dumb and gestures to the multiple ghosts in the room. You know what I mean, you hiss at him. Earthdave motions at you to be silent again, since he's trying to read his translator, and those things get confused if there's too many languages going on at once, especially if one of them is being sung.
I'll be a man of the land, I'll be a man of the trees, I'll be a man. Wherever my woman will be, I won't be any...
It really doesn't feel like balancing. When you close your eyes and feel the balance out, there's no pitch or rise to the darker light. The void isn't reacting at all. Something is happening, though. Maybe you're simply feeling all those Strider ghosts in sync about something. There's more to this stuff than just balancing. You know that your skills are limited. The others said that they could see regular ghosts before this and chose not to, so this could simply be normal spooky stuff. If anyone would know about that kind of thing, it'd be the older Dave, but when you look at him, you see that he's glancing from his translator to the door with a look of extreme concern on his face. The kind of concern that you'd have if someone told you that they'd managed to lock one of those wolf things from Somnos in a room and now you had to work out what to do next.
Stepped ashore at Felixstowe and made for Bristol by the road. I'm staying right here. Oh, I fell in love when first I saw her, Avon County's finest daughter. And now she's got me staying right here. Oh, wait, I'll be a man of the land, I'll be a man of the trees, I'll be a man. Wherever my woman will be, I won't be any captain's mate, I won't be servant of the seas. 'Cause this pretty little woman is all I need. I'll be a man of the land, I'll be a man of the trees, I'll be a man. Wherever my woman will be, I won't be any captain's mate, I won't be servant of the seas. 'Cause this pretty little woman is all I need.
I didn't know ghosts felt like that when they sang unless it was a balance thing. You say quietly in English. That was definitely something. Karkat agrees. He never really joined in for fun after Bro got taken out. It looks like he's still got something, even if he can't balance. I know his dad said to get him, but I don't want to stop him if he's enjoying this again. I couldn't feel it doing anything to the balance, but hold on, I'll get a second opinion. You say, and grab for Matuna and Psionic. I think you mean 2 bonus opinions. Hold on, wait. Psionic seems confused at being in a corridor for no obvious reason, so you switch back to Alternian to explain. You get 2 words in before your whole attempt at subtlety is ruined. Oh shit, ghost party! Matuna shouts, loud even for him, and throws himself through the door. Subtle like a hand grenade. Karkat groans, his face in his hands. Matuna, hey man, Dave's voice says from inside the room. Yeah, you've disturbed him. You may as well go in now. You step into the room yourself, and you're relieved to see that Dave seems fine with the interruption. Sorry, your dad sent us looking for you to say that food's up. I didn't want to throw off your song. You looked like you were enjoying it. You tell him. Yeah, Rose was going to play her violin later, too. I was comparing the songs I know with the songs my uncle knew, too. Your Dave explains. It's very interesting, and it's nice that you can still do music, even with its connection to your former profession, Rose says, with an emphasis on former that shows just how glad she is that it's done with. Man, you have so many Daves here! You've got 2 bonus ones! Matuna says, using the captor way of describing the number 3. The mileage that joke has gotten between me and Wander, I could run around the entire globe with. Instant vernacular change. That nestled its way into my brain. Dave looks around you to see his great-grandfather in the hallway, mutely staring back at him. Oh, cool. Just
lurking out there, watching.
Dave murmurs, obvious unease building in him. Sophia flies through the floor, clipping you as she goes past. Her son calls out after her and follows right behind her. The older Dave stares in shock as his daughter and grandson get away from him as fast as possible.
That can't feel good.
I think that he may have been watching Sophia instead. There's certainly some tension there. Rose observes quietly, and her words make Dave relax. If he's not being watched, then it's not so bad. You're not going to mention that the other Dave was watching him, too. It seems like a bad idea. Rosa glides over you to her son, her hand alighting on his head for a moment before she fades away. She obviously imparted some kind of message, but you're in the dark about what it might be. If we're done with the drama, we should go and eat, Carquette says from the doorway. The drama is never done, but we can always pause for food, Rose declares, and gets to her feet with Dave following after. Food does sound good. You return to the hallway and find that you've somehow dropped down to just one, Dave. Where did you start? And Psionic points off down the hallway and not back the way you came.
Rose is right. The drama is never done.
Dave shrugs. Why would you ever doubt me? Rose tuts. Psionic evidently figures that there's no need for him to be here, so he leaves. Mituna accidentally broke up the ghost party that he was so excited for, which means that things are boring, and he bails too. The end result is a pretty chill dinner around one of the tables in the main room. You realize partway through that it's more or less a Strider, Egberts, and Partners dinner, something that should have been nerve-wracking if it wasn't for you only noticing it midway through the meal. In fairness to you, your attention was on other things. One interaction in particular.
They're looking much better. Carquette did show me the product he was hoping to use,
Equius says with a nod as he examines Dave's fingers. Dave is eating and holding one hand up to show him.
My nails look stupid as hell, and I've definitely got some bruises coming up,
Dave tells him.
Yes, but if you had any fractures, I'd expect them to be obvious by now. I can't see any sign of infection in those cuts either. That's really good news.
Equius smiles broadly at Dave. Dave nods a little and looks at his hand. It's trembling ever so slightly, more so when he flexes it than when it's straight. He looks mournful about it, and you wonder if he's thinking about how this could impact the art that he does and the instruments that he plays.
What kind of fix is there for this? Assuming it's not all psychosomatic and in my head, because I have a guy for that. Ideally, it goes away on its own after I score enough experience points in talking about my feelings,
Dave says. Next to him, Rose chokes on her drink from laughing at the wrong moment. You're sure she'd agree that this is exactly how her profession works, at least if she wasn't trying to get apple juice out of her lungs right now.
It could heal on its own, whether it's physical or psychological. I would need to properly examine you to be sure. We could work out a way to look inside your arm that wouldn't be too much for you. Perhaps an ultrasound? It wouldn't be my first choice, but I know you have aversions to other...
Equius says, leaving that thought hanging. Dave draws a deep breath in, obviously tense all over. His eyes are squeezed tight, but then open again after he's carefully exhaled the whole breath. He's trying to pace out his reaction, to give himself a moment to pass beyond the initial flight response. You smack Carquette in the leg under the table a couple of times, only to find out that he was already paying attention to this conversation.
Can I do it?
Dave asks in a controlled voice.
Do you mean, are you able to manage it? Or, oh, are you asking if you could administer it, like we do with the blood tests sometimes?
Equius checks.
Just me would be better. I think it's the most I can handle,
Dave says miserably. Equius looks thoughtful, staring off into the distance for a few long moments. He's clearly giving this a lot of consideration. He really does take Dave's needs seriously.
I could give you a beginner lesson on how to administer an ultrasound. You could learn on me. When you're proficient enough, you can administer it to yourself. You don't need to be able to interpret the results, after all.
It won't be as accurate on your own body, especially with your hands not being steady, but it's a lot better than no examination at all. I can make that work, I believe. In the meantime, I would strongly suggest some physiotherapy, especially if you've made progress with Karkat already. I'm sure that you have at least a couple of willing assistants there. Equius smiles and looks sidelong at you and Karkat. Oops, your eavesdropping has been caught.
You know, KK, I gave Hal shit for playing doctor with Equius, but I'm starting to suspect that Hal didn't start this.
You say to Karkat. He's trying to get us into it too, Karkat says with a solemn nod.
Thanks. I'm so happy that your response to this is to make everyone at least a little mortified.
Hal hisses at you from further down the table.
I'm following in my ancestors' footsteps. Equality and shamelessness for all,
Karkat says pretentiously.
And it's a total lie because Karkat gets mortified all of the time. But you appreciate the commitment to the joke.
Dave? Equius says with quiet concern, immediately snapping your attention back to your partner. Dave is looking away from all of you, his head turned to face the doorway to the room. Before you can ask what's wrong, or wonder if you've panicked him, you see what has his attention. Gamzee walks in the room with his ghostly ancestor floating after him and looming over him. You don't get to see Gamzee looking small very often. The guy is huge, both in physical height and his imposing presence. Right now, though, he seems small. GHB hisses something at Gamzee, too quiet for you to hear from this far away. Whatever it is makes Gamzee seem to shrink into himself a little more. Gam? Karkat calls out to him, making GHB laugh meanly and Gamzee wince.
No, even your ex can see how weak you are.
The Grand High Blood sneers at Gamzee. A scraping sound yanks your attention back to Dave, and you watch as his nails dig into the tabletop, clawing into it as his hand tenses with fury. Dave pushes himself to his feet, his chair scraping against the floor as he stands.
Leave him alone,
Dave orders at a volume that cuts over everything and brings immediate silence to the table. His tone is so cold that you swear the air drops a few degrees just from those 3 words.
GHB cracks up at this. Stupid asshole clown acting like Dave is the funniest thing in the universe.
He leans over Gamzee, making Gamzee shrink again. You don't like Gamzee, but you're not okay with this either. He doesn't deserve this. I'm getting Sai. This isn't okay, you murmur, keeping your voice low enough that Sai won't lose the advantage of surprise when he gets here.
No,
Dave says icily and moves away from the table. He turns and faces GHB down directly. Gamzee is looking back at him in equal measures of surprise and dread. Clearly, Gamzee doesn't think this is going to go well.
Gonna go,
Gamzee mutters.
Yeah, run and motherfucking hide like you always have.
GHB snarls in Gamzee's face. The world's clearly as painful as a knife to the chest for Gamzee.
Shut up. This isn't happening anymore,
Dave snaps. The Grand High Blood is laughing as he talks.
Ha! What are you gonna do about it? Scared little lab squeak beast. You couldn't even deal with bro. Had to have your family murder the guy. Ha!
Dave stares coldly at GHB, not arguing, not taking the bait, just staring him down. His hand curls into a fist with the slow and smooth movements, one finger, then another bending in to form a fist without a hint of a tremor. To you, the action seems filled with terrifyingly calm conviction. Dave isn't angrily lashing out. He's simply deciding to do this with his whole being. GHB doesn't seem intimidated at all, but then again, he is incorporeal, so what does he have to fear?
You murdered your kid and you torment Gamzee. It stops. It's not happening again,
Dave states, coldly and clearly. Dave, Gamzee says quietly. You swear they had a thing about not interacting with each other's ghosts, didn't they? Dave clearly isn't sticking to that now. Karkat shoots you a panicked look, but you don't know what to do here either. Dave walks towards Gamzee and GHB. At the same time, GHB moves towards Dave with a mean swagger in his ghostly walk. He looms over Dave, huge and absolutely menacing. The dead man is nightmarish even now, but you can't imagine how much worse he was when he was alive and terrifying little kid Gamzee. You don't know why Dave is squaring up to him. He's already dealt with his mother so recently, and you know that he and Gamzee share nightmares. Shouldn't this be the worst thing for him right now? Dave is physically small in comparison to the Grand High Blood. Not that you get that impression from his cool and controlled body language. You're internally debating whether to call psionic here anyway, even if Dave said not to. This seems like a disaster, but your Kismesis said no, and you have to listen to him when he says that.
No more, Dave tells GHB once more.
The dead clown's face splits into a grin, but before it can fully spread across his face, it starts to fall. His eyes widen a little as he looks down at Dave, uncertainty and unease flickering over his features for a moment before he scrambles to hide them.
Huh, what? GHB starts to say, and you hear him weakening.
Dave moves. You've never seen him fight Gamzee, though you know they spar, and you've seen Dave after one of their scraps before. It's something else to see it in person, though. Dave jumps and grabs GHB by the shirt, using the grip to haul himself up the man's massive body. He has one knee planted on his collarbone, one hand grabbing the collar of his shirt, and then he swings his fist right into the Grand High Blood's face with incredible speed. There's a flash of unnatural light and energy as Dave's fist slams into him. GHB shrieks and topples to the ground like a collapsing building, and Dave rides his worthless, ghostly form the whole way down. The hand that was on GHB's collar is now wrapped around as much of his throat as Dave's handspan will allow. You're on your feet and staring at this insane situation. Most people are. Dave leans down, face to face with Gamzee's nightmare ancestor, and he snarls that this is never happening again. GHB vanishes into thin air, leaving Dave to land on the ground in a crouch without a dead man to hold him up. He forgot that Dave can touch them now, you murmur. The same safety that Dave and Gamzee had about their ghosts not being able to harm them went the other way, too, until now.
Dave?
Gamzee calls out softly. He's closer to Dave. He looks shocked, but concern is definitely the overriding emotion here. Dave stands up properly and shakes his arms out. They're shaking now, even though they were rock steady earlier. Gamzee takes a half step closer, and Dave shakes his head and backs up. Dave doesn't really manage to say much. It's fragments of no, can't, and things like that in a jumble before he bails from the room.
I will go and see if I can help,
Mr. Egbert says in a tone that cuts anyone else off from volunteering themselves. Dave's father leaves before anyone can say anything, not that anyone has managed to. All of you are stunned into silence. Everyone's faces are shocked and concerned. Everyone except the older Dave. He makes eye contact with you, and his expression is grim. Dave doesn't come back after that, or at least he doesn't return to the main living area, and when night rolls around, he doesn't come back to your room. Karkat does a little social investigation and finds out from Rose that Dave is with his dad. Clearly everyone is worried about Dave, about how that sudden instance of violence may have either done some psychological damage to him, or that it's the other way around and the violence is a sign of the damage he's already taken. Dave isn't generally a violent person. He threatened the captain before to defend the lives of everyone he cared about, but he didn't physically harm her. Dave and Gamzee spar, but that's a training thing, and it's consensual. Dave had been doing so well, but it would be unreasonable to expect him to be magically fine on all fronts so soon. Besides, the similarities between Gamzee's ancestor and Dave's parents is blatant. It's hardly surprising that seeing Gamzee tormented like that would set Dave off. Not that you're sorry about it. If anyone has that shit coming, it's GHB. The guy has been sorely needing a punch to the face for his entire life and afterlife. You don't say anything about psionic tangling with the guy, so you're not gonna tell Dave that you're disappointed in his choices or whatever the fuck. This bed seems so big without Dave in it. Karkat sighs, like the sentimental fuck he is. You consider Karkat's words. How he misses Dave too. How you could have lost him for good and didn't. This Daveless bed could have been forever if Dave hadn't broken all the odds and actually come home. You respect Dave's choice to sleep wherever he wants and needs to, even if you wish it could be with you, so you had the reassurance of his presence, the reassurance that he did make it back. Still, all of that is too sentimental and sappy to say, and Karkat has you both covered on that front. Instead, you address Karkat's observation about how empty the bed feels by selfishly starfishing your arms and legs out so you take up as much of the mattress as possible. Thanks, Karkat says dryly, not thankful at all. You're welcome. You smile at him, ignoring the way Karkat rolls his eyes. Karkat settles against your side and fusses with the bedding and with how much you're curled around him until he's satisfied with all of it. The two of you are supposed to be trying to dream with the other balancers tonight. Actually, it could be a good thing that Dave isn't here. He didn't want anything more to do with this balancer stuff, and this way he doesn't even need to see it. You nuzzle your sniff node into the wild and unruly hair that curls haphazardly down the back of Karkat's neck, none of it going in the same way as the rest of it. You let yourself relax, comforted by Karkat's presence, and the knowledge that Dave is fine, that you rescued the older Dave through time, that your friends are safe, and everything is pretty okay, all things considered. You drift hazily into sleep. There's a moment when you stumble to keep your balance that you're not sure where you are or what's going on. You try to look around, but a sudden spray of water to your face blinds you and leaves you choking on an unexpected mouthful of salty water. Good, you're here. Grab that, Dave shouts at you. You shake your head and look around. You're on a boat of some kind. Everything is wet and being pelted with rain and ocean spray. Gamzee is behind a sail, hauling hard on a rope that does, something, you don't know what. Further back, you can see Dave, the Dave from Earth, at the wheel of the ship. Solux! He shouts at you, and you scramble to grab a palm husk off of the deck. You hurry up the slick stairs to get to him and hand it over, though you're not sure what he's going to do with it, or what it's doing here. It's just ocean as far as I can see in every direction! Aradia shouts from up above. Looking up, you can see that she's climbed the mast of the small ship as high as she can to get a better look around. Fuck, of course, Dave mutters. A hint of strangeness filters through to your think sponge, and you frown. Wait, you can understand each other? Dream logic, Dave shouts over the wind. Well, okay. You turn and look around so you can figure out what's going on here. The small sailboat that you're in is being pitched this way and that in harsh waves, as well as pelted by rain from the storm above. Gripping the railing for balance, you stare upwards. The clouds are so big and dark. The rain is intense, and here and there you see flashes of lightning in the clouds above. Between the storm above and the sea below, you can't help but feel like you're surrounded by one enormous thing. It doesn't feel like the void, that hungry presence looming over you in Somnos. Karkat! Gamzee shouts, lurching across the deck to grab Karkat by the arm as he appears in the dream and nearly plummets over the edge of the ship as it lists to the side in the waves. Gamzee hauls him in desperately, pulling the coughing and spluttering Karkat to safety. Aradia, get down here! Dave shouts up at her. Dave turns to you and grabs your shoulder with one hand, the other still on the wheel. Solix, remember the island we were on? The one you took me from at the end, not the volcanic one? Yeah? You agree in confusion. I need you to focus on it. This is a dream. It's our dream. We can change it. There's going to be a big swell of one of the waves and we'll see it right behind that. Got it? Focus on it. Picture it. He tells you. Right. You can change dreams. You nod, and Dave looks around at the ocean. A large wave starts to swell and head towards you. Dave points at it, and you picture the island behind it as hard as you can. You picture the wave falling and revealing the island in the distance behind it like it would in a movie. The ship sails up the peak of the wave and... Yes! As you crest the wave, you see it! You see the island! Dave hisses in delight and then starts yelling orders to the others about what ropes to pull to get the sails to do whatever they need to in order to keep you on course. You look over the side of the ship at the water below. It's so dark, but it's churning with a strange intensity that doesn't seem like real water to you. The storm above can't be real either, can it? Can storms be that big? Maybe they can, and you're just not used to being on a planet and seeing large-scale weather. There were snowstorms on Somnos, but you couldn't see much of them with all the snow in the way. Dave steers the ship right up onto the beach of the island and hurries all of you off of it and onto the center of the island, where the trees provide at least some measure of shelter. "Are you okay?" you ask Karkat as you hurry along. "Yeah, nearly wasn't, though. Thanks, Gamzee," Karkat says, directing that last part at Gamzee, who's just ahead of you.
You're good. Don't think anyone should be going in that water,
Gamzee says loudly over the rain. "Agreed," Aradia shouts. Drowning wouldn't be fun, even if this is just a dream. You suppose that the ocean is pretty volatile in a storm. It's probably more dangerous than it normally is. You can swim in a pool, but you don't think your chances are great in the water out there. But you look through the trees for a moment at the dark waves. It doesn't feel like you'd be in more danger than in the pool with Dave. But that can't be right. Look how rough the waves are. You know you'd drown. You come to a stop with the others, under the dense patch of trees that Dave had apparently used as his little camp on the real island back on Earth. He shakes the worst of the water out of his hair and pushes it back away from his face with a sigh. "So, this is new?" Karkat says.
I don't think it is,
Dave responds. It's so weird. You understand him as well as you could if he was speaking Alternian, but when you listen to his words, you can't make out what language is actually coming from his mouth. Dream logic indeed. "You've seen something like this before? Because our dreams all have very set locations to them, except Solix," Aradia says. Dave looks at all of you for a moment before speaking.
Solix came to see me a bunch of times. From what I heard, you all followed him once. We were on a different island, a volcanic one. Yeah, you were talking about Bro, and it pissed him off real bad,
Gamzee says with a nod.
Right, well, I got a feel of something that time. Saw is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, right?
Dave asks. Karkat nods, and as he talks, he outlines the shape of some kind of big oval in the air. "Yeah, a version of Solix got us to come back through to him, and you were following us. You stared through the hole we came through."
Saw something big, dark, angry, and not human? There you go,
Dave says, and points out at the storm and the raging water. "This is what you saw? Maybe it's whatever was scratching through reality at us, too." Aradia muses as she stares out at the sky.
I figured that was to do with your door and the lights. You let everything through to get Dave back. Wasn't that connected?
Gamzee asks with a look at you. "That feels right." You agree.
Cool. Sick. Love that you did that so I'm not dead, but I think you let in more than you realized. I think that came with you,
Dave says grimly. Is it dangerous? Obviously we shouldn't be out there in a boat, but..." Karkat asks. You step around a palm tree to get a better look at the storm in the sky. Crunchy white pebbles and white sand make a satisfying noise as you move, and the rain on the palm leaves above you is intense but not terrifying. Your eyes trace over the waves and the dark clouds as you try to figure this out. This is definitely not a normal storm, that's for sure.
There's something really wrong here. There's more things out there than just ghosts, you know. I'm sure that door let through more than just me and a bunch of ghosts. You have to see that things are weird,
Dave says behind you. Things are different. There's so many ghosts, and we can talk to all of them now. Dave can even touch them. Aradia agrees.
Touch is one word for it,
Gamzee mutters. Well, Dave came through the door. Maybe he's on the same frequency as the ghosts now? He's not got a ghost of his own, and he's not a balancer now, so he could be picking up new skills or something? Karkat suggests. Dave sighs deeply, and you look around at him instead of out at the ocean. He looks unhappy and entirely unthrilled with this line of conversation. Do you have an idea about what's happening? If you have more experience with other supernatural things, then by all means tell us. You're a balancer, and we're a team. Aradia reasons, and Gamzee looks back at Dave as well. He'd been watching the water, just like you.
There are plenty of other things out there. Some of them are harmless natural junk. Spirits of places and things, normal stuff. But there are more things out there. Ghosts exist because troll lives too, have an energy to them. That's where ghosts and souls and all that come from. Wherever there's energy like that, there's something that wants it. Things that feed off of that. Dave explains.
Gamzee looks back out over the sea thoughtfully and frowns. You watch water dribble over the grease paint on his face and drip down to the wet ground below. You stare at the storm as well. Is this your fault? So, I let this through with the door, but it was also already here because time is bullshit, you say, the paradox making your head ache.
I don't know. I can't see why everything supernatural that isn't ghosts would stop existing in the future, but it seems like you people don't deal with that stuff like I did. Clearly it's still happening. You've got that dog wandering around the place, and you said that he's been here the whole time. Even if this thing came through the door that we opened with the keys you had me get. It's not as if this sort of thing existing is on you, Solix, Dave says, trying to reassure you.
Well, whatever it is, it clearly isn't going anywhere. The dream that we had could easily be the same thing as this. Aradia agrees, gesturing to the storm. That checks out. Our Dave, said it sounded like we were dreaming of a neutron star. Karkat says, even though this Dave would obviously know that Karkat meant the other one. Alright, how do you deal with this sort of thing in your time, Dave? Aradia asks him. Dave looks uneasy and uncomfortable. He seems to be sizing all of you up and coming to some sort of decision. Gamzee turns and leans against the tree that you're touching, his focus shifting from the storm to Dave. You can't help but miss your Dave right now. When he was guiding you through everything you needed to know about being a balancer, he was always a source of reassurance for you. He told you what was going on, explained things. He made sure that you were as safe as you could be. You feel like he would know what to do here, but he's not a balancer anymore, and he doesn't want to be. You're happy that he's out of it, but it sucks for you right now. Now the older Dave is explaining things, and you get the feeling that he's holding back on you.
You have to find out what this thing wants and why. Some spirits linger nearby when something's going down, and them being there doesn't actually mess with things. They're just chowing down on the byproduct of whatever is actually going on. You don't need to do much about them at all, not unless they start actively leeching off of people, and then you have to move them on. This is bigger than that, though. Smarter. Not human, but almost. Dave tells all of you.
So, that, Karkat says as he points out at the storm and sea behind you. That's alive or aware like a person is? Dave nods but stays silent, his arms folded across his chest. That's good, though. We can talk to something like that. It's like helping a regular ghost move on. Aradia smiles, always excited by things like that.
Nah, I don't think that's what he's getting at. I don't think he's being straight with us either. Gamzee rumbles and narrows his eyes at Dave. You do hate to agree with Gamzee, but it seems like Dave isn't telling you everything here.
You asked me to trust you before, when you were asking me questions and talking to... You start. Vriska? Karkat blurts out. You glare at Karkat in irritation. I'm sorry, KK, did the middle of my sentence get in the way of you talking or something? Karkat rushes by you, telling you to shut your face as he goes. He runs down the beach towards something on the sand. It's not the way you came from with the boat, and you'd been looking out to the sea without paying attention to the beach, but there's something there. You follow Karkat into the rain, hearing the others crunching footsteps over the gravel-like sand as they run along behind you. Vriska, what are you doing here? Karkat asks, offering her a hand to pull her up and getting completely ignored. Vriska is sprawled on her back on the beach, the water rushing up to her hips whenever the breaking waves rush up the white beach. Her hair is spread haphazardly below her like black seaweed, and she's looking up at the sky and all of you with an expression that suggests she's being massively inconvenienced.
You again. Aren't you just everywhere at the moment? Dave observes, with a suspicious note to his voice.
Get bent, old man. I'm not in the mood.
Vriska snaps at him.
You were in our last dream, Aradia says, and Karkat nods in agreement.
Why are you here? Both in this dream at all and also right here. You know it's not as wet under the trees. You ask her. Vriska slaps a hand in the water pointedly. I'm past the point where that's helpful. May as well just stay here. You are so needlessly dramatic, you say with a groan, although this isn't a new thing for her at all. Dave is watching Vriska with curiosity, but Gamzee speaks up before he's able to ask her any further questions. Admittedly, Vriska would most likely be entirely unhelpful even if he did ask her something. Ignoring Vriska, Dave Gamzee starts and ignores Vriska's offended noise from the ground. You were going to tell us what you think is going on. What spooky shit is happening that's supposedly outside of what we deal with. Was I? Dave says back immediately. You and Karkat look at each other at the same time, and understanding passes wordlessly between you. Your Dave can be an asshole sometimes, and he often speaks first and thinks after, or speaks and doesn't think at all. Immediately answering Gamzee, was I? In response to the prompt that he was going to do something helpful, is the kind of dumb shit that your Dave does. I don't think you're ready to hear what I actually think is going on, Dave says simply. Oh, maybe he did mean that was I remark then. And how about you don't say anything? Give that a try. Vriska bitches as another wave runs over half her stupid body. You ignore her. Aradia walks away from the conversation to the edge of the water. She's right by Vriska, but she's not paying any attention to her. It looks like she's not paying attention to this conversation at all. Hey! You hiss at her, but she waves you off. What the hell? You don't get to decide if we're ready or not, Gamzee tells Dave in a cold tone. We can all talk about this like adults. This seems really important, and if we have to learn how this works, then we have to start somewhere. If we're not ready to hear the whole thing because it's too complicated, then break it down for us. Karkat intervenes. Yeah, I trust you. I'll listen. You agree. Aradia chooses that moment to interrupt you all. She's crouched on the beach and twisting around to look at you. Hey, you said this was a beach from your memory, right? She checks. We were both here. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the landscape, though, but Dave was here for longer. Why? You ask. Sometimes it's easier to go with Aradia. What was the beach like? Aradia asks. You try to think about it and pull a blank. You really had more important things on your mind at the time, so beachy is the best you can do. It was sand, gold, and soft. This is way more coarse and rocky, Dave answers as he looks down at his feet with a frown. It's not sand, Aradia tells you with a smile and holds a chunk of rock up. Oh, that's not a rock. That's a bone. That's the head of a humerus or something in her hand. This isn't a white sand and rock beach at all. It's all bone. You look down and see broken finger bones right under your feet. Your digestion sac lurches with horror, and you jerk awake. It was all bones. And that, my friends, is where we leave off. Congratulations. You have now heard all of what exists of Your Words Destroyed My Planet. We are officially caught up. This is normal. This is so normal. It's so normal that I made a meme about it.
I'm pretty sure, I think, okay, so I made this right after reading it. Yes! Oh, I didn't need to be told, but I could have guessed, probably. Because mine was also doing that, obviously. Oh my god. Literally, I made this right after finishing the chapter the first time, the day it came out. I mean, you can see that it was posted the day that the chapter came out. Literally, I threw that shit together on my phone while in the car, like, coming home from something. That shit needed to happen now! Oh my god. Anyway. We were doing something. Fuck, I totally know this one. What were we doing the day before Christmas Eve? We were doing something. Obviously, because I was in the car. I definitely remember being in the car while editing this. Is that when we went to... No. Where did we go? We went somewhere. Anyway, guys, we fucking made it. We fucking made it and the stream didn't die. We're caught up now. Which means I'm now free to, get rambly. Folks, I'm gonna ramble. I'm gonna ramble now. Lol. Yeah, I accidentally spoiled the number 3 joke a couple of paragraphs in advance. I didn't realize my mistake until I was like, wait, that hasn't passed through my vocal cords yet. Y'all, thank you so much for being here for this project. And again, it's not over yet, obviously. It's not over yet. So I talked about this yesterday, but from this point forward, any new chapters will be scheduled and announced well in advance. I'd like to give it at least a week between the chapter going up and me streaming it. Probably more. And it will depend also on the kind of preparation type things that I do for each of these, which is the pre-stream playlists, because I custom make them for every stream based on the chapter title song. Well, it depends on just me being willing to sit down, and I don't enjoy making the pre-stream playlists as much as I enjoy having them, but I do enjoy having them, so I will still make them. But sometimes it can take me a while to, give my brain a kick into place and actually do it. And then also, however long it takes me to record the pre-stream playlists, because, recording, I do it at night, so I have to strike a balance between, shit not happening outside my window, but also not screaming my head off in the middle of the night. I have neighbors. And I want them to not hate me. But yeah, so things like that, as well as I just want to give myself some time to like sit in each new chapter and absorb. Yeah, no, every time I hear that song, I can't help but clap along. It took so much restraint to not do that this time, because I don't mute my mic during the sequences. But yeah, I just want to, like, absorb the chapter for some time, and, you know, let other people, as well as myself, turn it over in our brains and talk about it for a while before stream. So probably what it'll look more like is it'll be when I schedule the stream, I will announce it a week in advance. So it'll definitely be more than a week between publication and stream. But aside from that, this channel is... I am looking at doing Friday variety streams. Oh, huh? Yeah? Yeah, what's up? That's because I do that shit all the fucking time. Yay! I am him and he is me. Anyway. Yes, see? Wander can back me up. Yay! Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking at starting Friday variety streams at the usual, the same time that I did Friday streams for this, at 4 p.m. Pacific. And for as long as however I feel like. I'm in a Fortnite phase at the moment, so I'll probably start with that, but after that, I'm looking at starting a series where I stream all 4 mainline Pikmin games, because I have all of them on Switch. And, you know, up to... Yeah, I do this. I do this. I love my number one favorite response to hearing Wander struggle to hit a low note is to easily hit that same low note. Yeah, I would absolutely adore sharing Pikmin with folks, because that was a huge special interest hyperfixation of mine when I was like 12. So it's been a really important part of my life for a really long time, and that getting into Pikmin, because I loved Pikmin so much, we found this particular YouTube Let's Play of Pikmin 3, me and Wander did, and from there, like, the entire chain of fandoms that I've had since then all traces back to that. Like, even, strangely, even Homestuck, because I got into Homestuck because, I was in a Discord server with a bunch of Portal fans in around 2018, and a bunch of them were into Homestuck, and they were talking about it, and so I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot, and that night I read Act 1, and y'all know the rest. But, the reason I got into Portal... Yeah, I know, hold on, I have to ramble! Today's special! I have to ramble! But the reason I got into Portal was because of, you know her, you love her, it's Penny Snapcube.
And I came across Penny Snapcube before she was even Snapcube, via a particular video, Steven Universe video, back in, like, fucking 2016. Possibly 2015. Possibly 2016. I'll call it 2016. But, like, early that year. Do you want?
Will just be the valve polycule.
But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, and the reason I got into Steven Universe, that being how I found Penny Snapcube, the reason I got into Steven Universe was because I was into Adventure Time, and I got into Adventure Time because of the same YouTuber who did that Pikmin 3 series that we found all those years ago. So it all traces back. It all traces back. Anyway, fucking here I am now. Again, seriously, thank y'all for being here for this entire series. I could never have predicted the autism grip that this fic ended up having on Wander's brain. This, I think, is... I think this is the thing that makes Wander a Homestuck. 'Cause they've been thinking about reading it. Here they are now. Holy shit! My phone just exploded with Discord notifs that had built up over however long. I didn't even do anything to prompt that. I didn't, like, turn Wi-Fi back on or anything. It just did that. It was just like, I'm asleep. Oh my god, we just got so many notifs over the course of the past 24 hours when I was asleep. Oh, sorry. Distantly, Hal just had a scream of terror. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm really happy with this project, and I love doing it. This is like the first kind of major voice acting thing that I've done on the internet. And I am really happy with getting to sort of develop that skill, share it, and, you know, even nail down, like, particular headcanons for certain characters. I'm sorry, you can't pry Solix off of literally just my voice, but with the lisp. That's staying forever. Sorry. Not sorry. No, not sorry. This is who I am. I am him and he is me. Fucking deal with it. But yeah, this fic has meant so much to me for so long at this point. It's easily my favorite. I'll admit, I haven't read MC Escher yet. I am going to at some point. There's someone else's long fic that I want to catch up on first, but after that, I swear to God, I have to at this point. But out of the three major Unda works that I've read, this one is easily my favorite. I've pointed this out time and time again. It was engineered in a lab to appeal specifically to me. It's got space, it's got singing, and it's got ghosts.
That's like my whole shit! That's like everything to do with me! So, ironically, it took me a while to actually pick up the fic, but the moment I did, it did not leave my brain, and it still hasn't. Look at me here now. It's been here for over 2 years now, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere! So I just want to, get all mushy for a second and be like, yeah. I was always going to be, really happy about completing or catching up on this project. But I also really, really appreciate that, oh, believe me, I will wait as long as it takes. I will wait okay, well, if it's because you need my screams and my tears and whatnot, then I will wait as long as you will wait. But I will wait as long as it takes. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here every time. Y'all, we're gonna look at my channel now. And don't mind the fact that oh, is it gonna show my email address? You can't see this email address because you can't. But we're gonna look at my channel. We're gonna view my channel. Because y'all, Chapter 1 has over 100 views. Which isn't a lot. It's, like, in terms of YouTube numbers, that's not a lot. No one would ever think that's a lot. But, I am a person who has a special tag for when my original, a special tag on Tumblr for when my original posts exceed 70 notes. So, like, any eyes on this is really great. I got the author themselves as a regular in my chat. And a Discord mutual. I didn't expect that as shit whatsoever. So yeah, I'm just really happy with, and of course I was going to be. Of course I was going to be, because this was exactly how I planned it, except for yesterday, and I'm just extremely autistic. I'm so autism. I'm so yippee. Man. Well, folks, before I go, the last thing that I just want to talk to you all about is what's next for me. Aside from, I did point out the upcoming Friday variety streams. I'm not going to be as annoying with announcements for those as I am for these. So, like, anytime a new chapter goes up and I announce the stream for it, I will do an announcement at least a few days in advance, probably a week, just because that's easier for me to think in terms of. And I will probably also do 1 day before and 1 hour before, just so that there's plenty of opportunities now that they're not going to be regularly scheduled anymore. Just so that there's plenty of chances for people to see it.
But aside from those, what was I fucking saying? Friday variety streams, I'll probably just announce when I'm actually going live, and still do like 20 minutes or so of pre-stream music to give people time to show up, kind of thing. Yeah, I think I'll do that, and it'll be my actual, like, you know, random whatever playlists, instead of, you know, meticulously and carefully crafted hand-picked selection based on each. I'll still do the chapter playlists, but for those, but for regular goofball whatever game streams, I'll probably just let my one playlist shuffle like I do for breaks. But aside from all of that, aside from streams, I am not only a fic reader, or even a fic voicer. I am also a fic writer. Sniles. So I will go ahead and just, this one. My most recent posted fic, Sotto Voce, is becoming a series, as you can see here. I say becoming because I haven't posted it yet. The next one is done. And it is going to be called Subito Pianissimo, and I am going to post it on Monday. I'm going to post it on Monday! I waited until after this stream because I didn't want to overshadow myself. I've been sitting on it for like a couple of weeks now. Oopsie. But yeah, I will when I do post it, and there is also going to be I called it Prelude, but it's not going to be AO3 work. It's just going to be a post on Tumblr that's just sort of a rundown of this world and the characters in it, from a sort of author's commentary kind of perspective, like, little profile thingies. And that will go up on my art blog probably. Oh wait, tomorrow's Monday, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So I'll post both of those tomorrow. I'll post Prelude and I'll post the fic. And when I do so, I will link the fic in. I will link Prelude in the fic, and I will link the fic in Unda's server as well as in the Fan Author Coalition server, and in Cherry on Top, which is, just my friends, but that's because they're not in, aside from Wander, they're not in either of those other servers. And I want my friends to read it. So, yeah. That's what's up with me. That's going to go up tomorrow, and I do have a couple of ideas for more installments of Third Movement here, but that is not my current focus now that I've finished Subito. My current focus is my main work in progress fic, which is called This World Is Yours to Inherit. You may recognize it from I forgot the word tagged. You may recognize it from the assortment of drawings that I did, especially this past August. I'm totally normal about my own AU. Don't even worry about it. I'm, like, so sane.
Oh, don't worry. Twitey's not posted yet. I will be so fucking annoying when it is, though. Don't you worry. Same with Subito, honestly. I'll be doing a lot of self-rebloggy bullshit. But yeah, go to bed. Have a wonderful sleep. I wish you so much more better luck than last night, because holy fuck. That sucks bad. Anyway. These are oil paintings. I turned these in for a grade. This was the last assignment I ever turned in for college before graduating. And I just think that's supremely autistic of me, but also cool as fuck of me. Anyway, point being, my AU, this world is yours to inherit, or Twitey, as the acronym is the word. All of that. I don't know when Twitey will be getting posted because I'm not going to start posting it until I finish Act 1, which is the first 11 chapters. The first half of the story arc, really. And I'm allowing myself an intermission in the middle. Or, not an intermission, a fucking hiatus. Yeah. I won't post it until Act 1 is done, and I'm midway through writing Chapter 3, so we're not super far yet, but I'm laying a lot of the groundwork, and I do not have a good long fic. I haven't... The last time I tried to write a multi-chapter fic was in 2019 when I was still in my Portal phase. It was based around an OC that I had, and an AU that I had a side block based on. But the fic itself never got completed before I lost the hyperfixation. And so it is posted in the form that it as complete as it ever got, which is to say that the last chapter is literally just me explaining what would have happened. But yeah, that was the last time I ever tried to write a multi-chapter fic, and ever since then I've mostly been writing emotional specific single scene one-shots, or a few scenes, but all centered around one thing instead of around a plot. And so this is a big undertaking for me, and I really, really want to see it through, because I don't have a good long fic, and I need a good long fic. I want to have something that I can point to be like, yeah, I can do that. I don't usually, but I did at least once. And, seeing as I've been a Homestuck for over 5 years now, and it doesn't seem to show any signs of stopping, I figured now was my chance. This is my opportunity. Because that was the only pitfall that Shaken to the Core fell into. Aside from being based around an OC, which would have only just tanked its numbers, performance numbers, the reason that I dropped it was not because of any of that. It was just because my hyperfixations had moved on to something else. I don't seem to be moving on from Homestuck, so I think we're in the clear there. And so I would absolutely like to... My goal is to get Act 1... At least start posting Act 1 before the end of 2025. We'll see how that goes. I had the idea for this fic in early 24.
I think I first threw together, like, my first ever sketch outline concept document in, like, early March 2024. So already this idea is almost a year old. But it's taken a lot more form now. And I'm glad for that, because that means I have a place to go to. So, yeah. Look forward to that. Look forward to... I'll be posting Subito tomorrow, as well as Prelude. And I will absolutely link the shit out of them. Or I'll at least link the shit out of Subito, and then Subito in the notes I'll have a link to Prelude. Anyway. That's it from me tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful night. It was all bones, is the fucking thing about it. And we have no idea what that means. It was all bones. Have a good night, y'all.